Well, hello, hello, hello to you all in the land of YouTube. Terence is not here because he's busy eating. So
Right.
good luck with that. Enjoy
He
it.
loves food more than he loves us.
Yes, I think food is a priority for him.
I think maybe he got trapped in bad weather or we're driving home from something. And so he was
Apparently,
late for
yeah.
having his lunch.
Yeah, Canada hasn't had very nice weather anyway, so
Yeah. We've been having spring-like weather here, which I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop and torrents of rain to start coming back.
Yeah. Well, you're sharing kind of similar weather in here as well. It's been mild, but then cold, mild, cold. You know, like night times are really cold, daytime is not really. You know, all that stuff. But we didn't came here to talk about weather,
right? But it is strange to me that I'm about 4,000 or 5,000 miles away from you, but the weather in Portland and the weather in a large part of England is often almost the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of odd.
If you want to move to the US and you want to keep your British weather, move to Portland or Seattle. But probably if you leave the UK, you want to escape the weather, I'm guessing.
Yes, I think that would be nice. I mean, the winters are quite long and stuff. Anyway.
I'm very proud of my new T-shirt that says "Cluck yeah." But then I realized I was being a hypocrite in front of my daughter, so I told her I wouldn't wear it in public.
Okay. Well, there you go. Chaos says move to the desert. I don't know. It's another extreme. Yeah, it's another extreme, and I'm sure if I'm willing. I like water, but you know,
right.
Not
Like
always.
places like Vegas have to get their water from someone else, and once water becomes more in shorter supply, people may just cut them off. We'll see.
Wow, that's even crazy to talk about that. Anyway, so before we start, I'll show you what I picked up in library. I guess this is the good way to just so a
ease
couple
into
of
it.
Yeah, it's a couple of things I have read or I wanted to read basically, and another thing you showed something, so we only find them when they're dead. So Al Ewing, Boom Studios production.
I think I read the first 2 issues of that.
Yeah.
And there was interesting things about it, but so I'll be interested to hear when you do read it.
I read.
Did you read the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I didn't manage. I just like looked through and stuff like that. But I read 3 issues of this so far. But I got distracted by other things. So I was like, that's the thing. What happens when you get to a library and you pick up something and you're like, oh, let's flick through this, see how we feel. And then I want to see what the other thing is. Anyway, so so this is one I picked it up. And then I think I went to Hawkman before. I have this weird fast thinking I did. But 3 volumes of Hawkman by Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch.
That's one of my favorite runs of Hawkman.
So, and I will talk to you about it, my first feeling, because I actually managed to read the whole volume of volume 1.
Oh, cool.
And then something completely smart girl, Fernando Dagnan. It's a Titan publication, comics, and it's about this futuristic tales of the androids looking like humans. And she's one of the creations of that. And I just scrolled through. I really like the art. I actually can make myself like.
Is that a European continental comic?
Looks like I'll tell you. Just give me a second. I'm gonna make myself like a solo screen. It's apparently there's a movie came out about this robots feel like a human felt like robots, and I watched the movie but I forgot the name. But anyway, she is called Scrappy, this girl, and she is one of those androids. And then not really much know about it. There's quite a few things going on, but the art is black and white, and the
That's
creator
nice.
I have not seen. So this is the past in Thailand, and apparently something really bad happened. So post-apocalyptic, of course, there. But afterwards, the art is changes to kind of very clean cut art, but it's all black and white.
It looks like is it line art with some black, some gray wash on it?
Yes,
or is it more
yes.
painted?
It is gray wash. It's like ink wash, actually. It's ink wash. It seems to be. It feels more like an ink wash.
So probably not done digitally.
No, I think both, to be honest. There's like a couple of blackouts in here. It's way too black for being an ink these days. So I think it's being touched up. But it's an action, like almost like an espionage. It looks like tale with androids and stuff like that. But I didn't read it, of course, yet. And it says Yuki is an affectionate cold scrappy by her former owner, tech giant Hiroshi Tonazi, and a smart girl, an android servant used to for everything from security to carnal pleasure. So you know, that kind of
that kind of android.
Yeah, with a pleasure. And then she's like, oh no, I'm fed up of that kind of stuff, and they're becoming so clever, and she's apparently going to be rogue. So it looked interesting. It's a nice hardcover.
Yeah, that's cool.
Titan Publications, $30 US actually.
So it was published here. Okay.
Yes, Titan Comics.
Titan does a lot of European comics, so I'm guessing it's translated.
Yeah, and I think I've heard his name, Fernando Danino. I think I've seen him somewhere before. And
probably if Terrence were here, he probably could tell us.
Maybe, but very nice. This.
Or definitely if we had Earl.
Yeah, inserts.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. So quite beautifully rendered as well. So this is what I found in the library.
Well, I could do a kind of quick catch up since we talked about Mouse before.
Yeah.
I didn't think, because it's sold out everywhere, but when I came in my shop on Wednesday, I said, hey, do you have any copies of Mouse? And he said, I have one last copy. So I bought this hardback, and I've only flipped through it so far. I haven't read it yet. It's also really long. It's over 300 pages. Or it's just about 300 pages. I thought it was shorter. I guess I must have just read a volume 1 back in the day. And in fact, I read a lot of it serialized in Raw magazine.
Yeah.
But yes, this says in the middle, it says chapter 2. So I guess I've only read chapter 1 in the past. And my daughter tried reading the first chapter, and she said she didn't like the art. So anyway, I just, with all the talk about it, I thought, well, I can't even remember what it was really like. So I should read it. And it is supposed to be one of the greatest comics of all time.
It's actually, it's very involved and very sad from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it just gets to, it's like I said to you, I was reading that Siberian haiku, that Lithuanian tale of people taken away from the families.
Gulags.
Yeah, gulags and stuff like that. And it's just, it's.
Oh yeah, here's the Auschwitz part.
Yeah.
Piles of bodies. Yeah. So my main worry about it was it might be too intense for my daughter at this age. But I thought I'd read it and see, and if I liked it, encourage her to read it.
Yeah.
It does remind me, we have, like you have the gulags in your past. We do have the concentration camps in the past in my family. So be good to have some version of it to read about. I don't know if this is the right version or not. And oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Anyway, the art is not something I don't think your kids would be it's very simplistic in a way, but it's poignant to tell a tale. I don't think it should be graphic. If it would be more graphic, that would be more talked about, I think. But this one isn't, and I enjoyed reading it. I just felt like really, because especially it's actually nice to see it wasn't real humans, because I keep on comparing to Siberian haiku, but they were actual humans drawn in there, and here's mice. Right. So in that sense, you kind of can kind of like, I don't know, not distinguish too much about it. Like if
Yeah.
you don't feel too much about it, but it's just the way the kids, even though you feel like no matter it's a kids, mice still feels like humans went through shit in order just to.
Because I read it in Raw magazine, which was all this avant-garde comic book art that only the really serious comic fan would have been interested in back then.
Yeah.
I always thought of it as entirely aimed at adults, but just put in the mouse and cat way to, I don't know, simplify the story in a certain way to make it a little more approachable. But anyway, there was something else related to this that I was thinking of, but now I can't remember it. Oh well. Oh, in terms of like what kids read and stuff, in my daughter's class, they read Animal Farm, and then they were going to read 1984, which is, by George Orwell. Also, and I was trying to remember my own experience reading 1984, which was a lot older. And I seem to remember it having torture and other disturbing stuff in it, and maybe a sexual relationship, although it was written in 1948, so probably not too descriptive. But anyway, after they read a chapter or two, the teacher pulled the book. So the teacher perhaps realized, oh, I thought we should read 1984 without reading the book ahead of time myself. And now that I have, I'm going to read it. So I just thought that was interesting. There's always... people often make decisions without actually having read what they're deciding to do. Yeah,
for sure.
But another thing, another sort of note, but I'm not going to, I have shot a video talking about Aerosmith with Eric from the Long Box Review podcast.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
I think it's a lot of fun to read, but it's not a fun book. Kind of like Mouse, it's actually about really serious subjects disguised as a fun-looking book. So, there's dragons and fantasy stuff, but it's really a book that takes the horrors of war very seriously. So, again, I think you could read this at a much younger age than you could read Mouse, but it is really about how war takes away any moral stance you can have, whichever side of a war you're on. So that's really interesting. So we recorded about an hour-long conversation about it that I'll be putting up on my channel.
Wow.
Probably tomorrow or sometime this week.
You're busy with your YouTube videos today. Or?
I'm too busy, I guess.
But 1, 2, 3. Hey, look who's here.
Woohoo! The star of the show, Lillian, and her sidekick.
Yeah.
That's right. There we go. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Good.
On my end, you're out of sync, but there's probably nothing to do about that.
I don't know what you're talking about. How was that?
Even more out of sync.
Oh, no.
That's not weird. That's not weird at all. So,
whoa,
you've been busy eating?
Eating, yeah. And the weather went crazy. I went to drop my son off, and then on the way back, it picked up. It's blowing snow like crazy. The highway was really slow. People were driving slow because you can't see very far. So it all of a sudden just came out of nowhere.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, at least you're safe and sound and you're here, so that's good. We're happy about that.
Yep. And we ate, so that was good as well.
Cool. Yes.
And she's going to hang out with me for a little while. I had tuna. I'm on a tuna kick lately. So I have this, there's this sriracha tuna with these thin, crisp, giant crackers, and then some cream cheese. Oh my goodness. It's delicious. Like, it's crazy. Crazy good. I get these cravings.
Does Lillian like it too?
No, that was just me. She was eating, what did you have? Katie and celery.
Celery and peas.
Oh, gross. Celery. No.
Or this,
No way.
who's the example in how to eat here? You're supposed to be an example, not tuna with your srirachas
way.
and all that fancy stuff.
Yeah.
So
what did I miss? What were you guys talking about? What did I interrupt?
Nothing. We just showed a couple of. I showed a couple of books in library I picked up.
Okay.
Damien was showing us a mouse.
I talked about buying Mouse, which I haven't read yet.
Oh, you bought it? Sweet.
And that they were gonna read 1984 in my daughter's class and then change their mind.
This guy
right here.
I don't like celery either. Well, actually, I like celery in my tuna fish salad.
I like my celery in Bloody Mary. That's where I like celery.
Yeah.
In the Bloody Marys are delicious.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can tolerate it in soup, but just barely.
I think salad is not bad with celery as well.
Yeah. Chris is saying he's sunbathing out in Vegas.
I want him to do a video where he's sunbathing and showing comics.
Yeah.
So did you watch all Boba Fett now? I wanted just to pick up on them.
Yeah, we finished it last night. We watched the last one, right? Yeah.
So it wasn't really a Boba Fett.
What did you think of it, Lillian?
Good.
You liked it, yeah?
Yeah, but everyone kept interrupting, like, oh, I hate this. Oh, this is horrible. And it's hard to watch it when they're just like.
Yeah, it's true. We may have done.
Is this what the adults were doing?
Once or twice.
And she said, "Guys, I'm trying to enjoy the show here." And we're like, "Sorry." It's funny.
Drove me crazy.
Yeah. So, needless to say, we weren't crazy about it. Lillian enjoyed it quite a bit, but the rest of us weren't really crazy about it. It was nice to see Baby Yoda, though.
Well, people Lillian's age are the ones who should be enjoying Star Wars, right?
Exactly right.
True.
All us old people are just hanging on, wanting to keep enjoying stuff that we enjoyed as kids.
Exactly. Desperately, out of desperation.
Da Costa likes it a lot.
Sorry, say that again.
Da Costa, what's his name?
John DaCosta?
Yeah, he loves it. Apparently on
Okay,
Twitter, I saw him saying that he absolutely loves it. But he's a Star Wars fan, so of course he will. But so Boba Fett became Mandalorian show.
Yeah.
I was
Totally
like,
did.
Why? But overall, the story was great. Overall, the story was actually fantastic to have the whole picture, but it wasn't really a Boba Fett story. So it's bizarre. Yeah. It was really
definitely
cool.
Was Mandalorian for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Mandalorian came, and even my husband was saying like, it's boring as well.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
So what can you do? You have to do what it's just a show. That's one other thing. Totally. You have to remember. Don't forget about that. So
I liked him.
You could have been reading comics.
I liked him riding that big pit creature, whatever, the Rancor. That was pretty great. When it turned into like a giant monster movie all of a sudden for like 10 minutes, that was pretty awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only thing we can tell about that. So, who's gonna start talking about comics instead?
Dive in.
Yeah, go on, Damon. Be a good sport.
Let me get my sporting gear ready. I'm going to talk about Submariner number 13.
Wow, I like the cover.
But I think I'll do the if you guys still find it not too nausea-inducing, I'll do the overhead cam.
Okay, go on. What do I do again?
You got to wait for me, and then now I put it in the stream. You can do so too.
Oh, okay.
So this is Submariner number 13. It was given to me as a gift for playing on that Jeopardy game, which for me was excellent because I'm trying to collect the whole Submariner run from the 70s or 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And I have a good portion of it, but I didn't have this one. And apparently this is now a hot key issue because in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie, there's a character that's going to be named what's it called, Gigantos or something, but it's really Shumagorath.
Shumagorath.
But they stole the name Shumagorath out of a Robert E. Howard story, so now they can't use it in the movie. So the Gigantos in this comic is not very much like Shumagorath. Gargantos. There's Gargantos. Gargantos is really just a roided up octopus.
Yeah.
That
like
Submariner has to fight in the arena in Lemuria, where he's battling an evil serpent king.
I look
So
nice.
I'm emphasizing these things, trying to send a message to Mr. Comic Crack that this made me think of Kull the Conqueror.
Yeah,
Wow.
it looks
cover.
great. Look at that page, man.
It's a beautiful, beautiful comic, and the copy that Brian sent me is in incredible shape. So
And
I guess it's a key for the moment, but I won't be selling it. I love it. I love it visually. It's a Roy Thomas script, and I usually like Roy Thomas scripts, but it's fight scene after fight scene, but somehow he makes it deadly dull. So I'm just enjoy the art is Marie Severin, and I've never seen before her inked by Joe Sinnott, the famous Jack Kirby inker.
Yes.
And overall, like one of the top inkers at Marvel. So there's this guy who has gotten a hold of the Serpent Crown, which I know I've seen in other comics, AAFPC. What's his name? It's some silly name.
His hat is weird looking.
Yeah, his hat is the Serpent Crown, and I feel like that's shown up in a lot of Marvel comics over the years. But the whole serpent thing made me think, and the fact that this is set in sunken Lemuria, and Lemuria exists in the world of Kull, and Kull's always fighting serpent feet people. Anyway, the Naga, his name is Naga, and since he put the Serpent Crown on, he's turned power mad, and he's just like killing his own soldiers and stuff, and his main general is like, no, don't kill my soldiers, and now that you've killed them, kill me, but no, I'm going to keep you alive because I have uses for you. And then suddenly we're in an arena, and Submariner has to fight Naga's soldiers. And when he defeats Naga's soldiers, they call out the big guns of Gargantos, which is just a big octopus. And with this axe, he rules. No, I mean, with this axe, he defeats the octopus, and then he has to fight Naga himself. So it's just fight after fight after fight, and it is because I will not die, evil one, not while you live, and the fair Dorma lies murdered. It's just like endless dialogue like that, and it's just so. I think it's Roy Thomas trying to be like Stan Lee and just not quite hitting the mark perfectly. But the art makes up for it.
I mean, I can't believe that Mary Severin hasn't had so much fame as she should have. Look at this stuff she's doing. I mean, okay, she has that style where you would say, your typical Marvel style in that era, let's say this way, but the ability of her movement even Submariner looks handsome.
Right. Well, either she was happier with the behind the scenes jobs that she mostly did, because she had instead of being a freelancer, she had a steady paycheck and stuff, or she might have decided as a woman, I'm gonna have trouble as a freelancer, so I should take the behind the scenes job. I don't know which is the case. Everyone who worked with her says she's a fantastic, lovely person. So she sounds like she was a happy person, a fun person to be around. So she might have just liked being part of the bullpen. If you research things, you find that tons of covers were actually designed by her. So it might be drawn by John Buscema, but the initial cover sketch was done by her. So she's actually an invisible power behind a lot of how Marvel looked for, 15 or 20 years.
Wow.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. And then doing tons of coloring on top of it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think she moved out of coloring and was more their design person. But I might be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she also trained up lots of people. Like I recently saw a interview with Greg LaRocque, who's the father of a guy in the community now. So he interviewed his father, and he said, Marie Severin is the one who showed him, oh no, you've got to put your figures like this or redo your panels and stuff like that. So she was kind of the teacher for several generations of artists too, I suspect. So, but I really wish the story was better, but I kept thinking this is so much like a Cull story. So, and then Roy Thomas worked with Marie Severin on Cull not too much later. This is 1969. I don't know when the first Cull issues came out. Was that 1970 or 71?
Something like that. Yeah, I don't have them close, but we can find out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and AFPC said she was a great storyteller, and exactly so. All of those Marvel covers used to tell a story, and a lot of that might be because of her storytelling ability with creating the sketches that the other artists would follow.
1971 was the first issue of the first volume.
So 2 years roughly
was,
after this.
Appearances in magazines and stuff. So, yeah.
It does seem like Submariner, because he's got Atlantis and Lemuria. They could make the connection between the ancient world of Cull
absolutely
to the world of Submariner.
Every time I see old Submariner, I feel like I should pick them up, because I have one or two of them, just because there was a couple that had Doctor Strange in it, some of the earlier ones anyway, and I've really enjoyed them, and it's the look of them and everything. So it really, seeing this, keep my eyes open for sure.
Yeah, I think visually it was a very fun series. I'm not sure if they ever took it very seriously on a writing level. I don't know if anyone really cared about the character of Submariner. They just had him say Imperious Rex all the time and stuff like that. But I don't know. I've been collecting a lot of them, and I've only been reading a little, so I need to read more before I really pass judgment. And there was a time when Bill Everett came back, the creator of Submariner from the Golden Age, came back and wrote and drew a series of issues here, and I'd like to read those and see what he did with it.
Wow.
That must have been weird for him, this character that he completely lost control of. We'll let you do a few issues of your own character.
Right.
But I guess that's what happened to all the creators. But
yeah.
Okay. Right.
Cool. That's very cool.
How do you get out from this?
There you go.
Okay.
I think you used the 3 dots in the picture.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Now,
there's a number of ways to do it.
We're back to where we were at. Hello, Paulo Costa.
Hey, Paulo.
Hello, Paulo.
That's a great way to put it, Paulo. She's kind of a bridge between Jack Kirby and Gil Kane. I don't know. Gil Kane, I assume, mostly designed his own covers, but he may have had to work with her at first to learn the ropes. His covers at Marvel were certainly a lot better than his covers at DC, in my opinion.
Was Severin having a brother or husband working in Marvel as well?
John Severin was her brother.
Yeah,
I think he was her older brother. So I think he got into comics and then she followed. They were both artistic. So she broke in by doing coloring at EC.
Wow.
And then she moved on to Marvel later.
That's a good way
so
to...
I'm guessing she was quite young when she was doing the coloring at EC.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks good. I mean, as I say, every single time I look, and you would think that, her art and looks stunning, and it's like a breathtaking panels and layouts, and I think I have a couple of them. I've seen a couple of them in the Hulk, which I really enjoyed her rendition of that. I mean, I can't take like Submariner, I know that she done, and then some other like those creations, but every single time I've seen her, it's like she's up there. She's like right up there with all those guys, So yeah, it's a pity that she
just back then people most people would do tons of comics, and she would just pop up a little bit here, a little bit there. I think.
Yeah.
Again, I think because she was working on staff, so it's
Mm.
limited time for.
I guess also, like she was taking a different way of the path of the comic books anyway. So as you say, she was taking that. Maybe she just wanted a steady
Right.
job, and then in that time,
Well, I keep forgetting to ask my friend Scott Edelman because he was friends with Marie Severin when he started working at Marvel in the 70s.
Is that the letterer there, Damien?
I'm sorry?
Is he a letterer? Is that who that guy is? Scott, you were saying your
No,
friend?
no, he was he did editorial work and then he was a writer.
Oh, okay.
And he's a friend of mine from writing workshops I used to go to.
Okay.
He left comics and he became a science fiction and horror writer and an editor on various magazines. I used to write for him back when I was freelance writing.
Crazy.
Yeah,
like he was the editor of something called Science Fiction Age, which was a big magazine for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to be quite often on Twitter, I think, doesn't he? We were having conversations.
Yeah. He comes and goes on Twitter. He does a podcast, which I've talked about, where he interviews people while they're eating lunch or dinner. And some people can't stand it because of all the restaurant noise. And I can't stand it on headphones, but if I'm in my car, the restaurant noises don't bother me so much.
Right.
Interesting. Oh, well, a good setup, I guess, for some people.
I'm going to have to excuse myself for a minute because I think I might be getting an important call.
Okay. Bye-bye. Enjoy.
So what do you got there, Rasta? What did you read?
No, you go. I'll go last. I'm in charge, okay?
Okay, yeah. I don't have much this week, honestly. I didn't read a ton, but one thing I started reading last night through the Comic Addicts group. I won this 4-issue series, Sensei, Roger Salek and Val Merrick from First Comics. I guess they had this First Fiction series. So this is volume 2 in the First Fiction series. 4 issues, color. Unfortunately, color. I kind of wish it was black and white because of Val. Yeah. And it doesn't really, I don't think it does his art justice having in the color. It's not that the coloring is horrible. I would just prefer to see him in black and white. The coloring is fine. It's pretty non-offensive, but it's also,
very bland color.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a science fiction story. This guy who's trained as a samurai. I guess it's supposed to be modern. 1989 is when it's set. So he travels back in time, and then there's a little kind of, they haven't explained it yet because I'm only 2 issues in. There's sort of a time jump where halfway through the book we go back to kind of that first panel in these first few pages, and he gets transported ahead in time. So it's the same character. So the first part he jumps back to old California, 1849, and it's a pretty good, it's a pretty neat setup so far. Like he's there to find somebody, and I think it's part of his family's lineage. It hasn't been 100% explained yet. Like I say, 2 more issues to go, but it's great. It's a solid read. You just get some interesting looking characters. And he kind of befriends the Chinese who are working the mines and being treated horribly. So he gets to pop in and beat the shit out of some hillbillies every once in a while, right? So yeah. It's interesting. And then when we jump to,
what are you showing us, Terrence? I'm sorry, I missed.
Sensei from
First
Comics.
Right. Val Merrick strikes again.
Woo-hoo. Salek and Val Merrick. Yeah, he does. And I got it. I was saying I got it from one of the Winnipeg Comic Addict guys. $4 for the 4 issues. So then we jump back to our opening page again, where he's set up to go time travel again. But this time he jumps to New California, 2129. And of course, things are all chaotic. So I guess more than halfway through the book, these are the last few pages here. So we get kind of what the hell is going on. He is a twin. And then there's a story as well, to kind of talking about the kind of pre-story to this main character and his brother, and how they kind of got to where they did in the first issue. And that goes for a few pages there with some black and white art. And then a brief kind of description of each of the artists. I wasn't familiar with Roger Salick, but they make a point of saying Roger is a 5th degree black belt in karate and a martial arts instructor who's written for Badger, Sable, and Crossroads. And then Val Merrick holds a 3rd degree black belt in karate. So everybody associated the inker, one of the inkers is Taekwondo guy. They really make the point of making sure that you know that all of the creators are skilled in the martial arts themselves. I'm assuming to help sell the book. Like, it's good. It's a fun book so far. So I finished reading. I read 1 and 2 yesterday, and these covers are pretty fantastic. I wish the coloring inside looked more like the covers, to be honest. But yeah, so far not bad. I don't know anything about this first fiction series, but there was at least 3 of them, because there's another one advertised in the back of this one for a volume 3. So, and I don't know what the first volume was either, but cheap and fun. Like I said, I just wish it was black and white.
Yeah,
because I think it would
the
look
colors
a lot better.
covering up the good art.
Yeah.
Because
so it's no young master or master, but it's still pretty damn enjoyable. Yeah, that's it. Lots of sword play, lots of cutting people in half, lopping off heads. And I'll just show you the other 2 covers there. So there's issue number 3 cover. And then issue number 4. Pretty great stuff.
Wow.
So yeah.
When did these come out? Like 1990 or something?
Let's have a look here. 1989 is the final issue. August of 1989.
So it seems to be you keep on looking for your young master and you can't find it. Yes.
Exactly right, and that's exactly why I bought it, because I'm like, oh man, maybe it'll be another,
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's enjoyable so far. It's just not in the same, and who knows, maybe the last 2 issues will be mind blown. We'll see, because I'm enjoying it enough to keep up with it for sure. It's not a struggle to read it.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Just not at that young master level.
Yeah. It's a pity you found that young master way too early in Val Merrick's line of work. I guess you should have left it right at the end, and you would be blown away by the master.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jones
I guess so. It's
more
always
of
like
it,
that,
man.
They have something great, and then you keep on looking for that, and then lots of things doesn't live up to that expectations.
Yeah.
And that's but it's a good thing that you can discover so many things afterwards. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still looking like a gold mine,
Yeah,
But,
totally.
That's a good story.
Yeah, and I
It's
mean,
always.
It also
Go
makes
on,
it
go
so rewarding digging, right? When you find something like that,
Yeah.
and you find like a gem out there that's like, holy shit, how did I miss this one? So it kind of rewards you for doing the digging.
Chaos is blaming Damien for reading while he's chatting to us.
He likes picking on me. I'm gonna cry soon.
Yeah.
Chaos, you're gonna make Damien cry. That's not right. This is bad, not good. This is how it goes. Anyway, so you can continue reading. I'm gonna put my full screen, Damien.
I'm not reading. I'm just shuffling through things, trying to figure out what I'm gonna look at later.
Well, just in case, just in case. I'm going solo screen, so.
Yes. Okay. I'll just ignore you and read my book.
Well, thank you. Now
no one will know.
Don't come after me. I'm trying to be nice here. Anyway,
I'm just joking.
Daredevil. I look at this Christmas special, so I didn't realize I'm just going through whatever I have of my Daredevil run. So
that's an awesome cover.
Yeah.
Is that JR?
Yes, it is. So JR doing this story, a Christmas special story with Daredevil, and we're having a very bitter, almost like a childlike Kingpin, and the story about, of course, with Christmas related. So Anne Nocenti once again, John Romita Jr., as you guys can see, Al Williamson doing inks, which is, I think, helps Romita quite a lot, I think, in my opinion. So it's apparently it's Christmas Eve, and according to this non-written rule, it shouldn't be chaos. At the end of the day, it's just a couple of days or in the year we could be all settled, but not again. These two dudes decides, nah, it's Christmas, nobody's gonna be taking care of it. Coppers are wanting to spend time in at home with the family, so they can just do whatever they want. But hey, you are in the Daredevil land, and these guys keep on looking after the people who needs to be looked after. It's actually quite nice panel in here.
Yeah.
Of him just looking down, those figures, like almost like a Batman figure in a way in there. So this kid is quite an important part of the storyline, because he's those hooligans who is in the car and trying to cause havoc. He's kind of looking up to them, because they badasses, cool, they're getting away with things, they're stealing, but he has not very great life in his family, because of dad is not doing well and mom not doing really well. So he's kind of looking up to bad people, and Daredevil is trying to basically teach him kind of in a way lesson in here. So the whole story goes through just like Daredevil is just trying to find those hooligans who's trying to go through, and Kingpin is sulking because he says in here, like, look at this Jim Kingpin and Jim, which is absolutely crazy. As you can see, his figure. And then he's just like carrying those dumbbells, and this guy is basically telling him report Christmas Eve, and then he's telling, okay, Daredevil cost us this, Daredevil cost us that, or Matt Murdock, actually, not Daredevil. So Matt Murdock. And prior issues to this, apparently Kingpin managed to basically make Matt Murdock lose his license, basically lose most of things, but still Matt Murdock find a way to help people. And underlying story in here is that Kingpin is trying to get the block of city or the town where he wants to build the biggest building in Manhattan. So he needs real estate, and he's trying to basically get rid of the people or people selling their own properties for him to be able to build that. But because Murdoch is still helping without license, like being a lawyer, he can't be a lawyer, but he got his practice to help people. So Mr. Kingpin is just sulking like a boy in the gym and getting angry. And you see this like line in here. So apparently there's a fly while he has in conversation. He gets so cross with it, he starts smashing the gym apart, because he's like, while having this horrible conversation, he just decides to like, this fly comes into him, and it's like, he's just not having his best day of life. And then the guy who he's basically reporting him saying, can I have a day off on Christmas Day? And he's like, nope. What's Christmas? What are you talking about? This is bullshit day. Everybody has to work. I want to make a meeting. Go ask everybody to come and meet me on Christmas Day. So this is basically, as I say, Kingpin is trying to be like not caring about Christmas, and nobody should be caring about Christmas as well as he does. So really good. It's very simple story, to be honest, but that moments with Kingpin was kind of brilliant, to be honest. And he's still sulking at the end of this issue. But he has a plan, and apparently the plan is the famous story with what is that her name? Wow! Now I need to know why I'm doing that to myself. What that crazy chick? She's going to
Typhoid
be
Mary?
Typhoid
yes.
Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is issue before Typhoid Mary basically gets involved because Kingpin is probably going to hire her, and he's deciding to see what else can he do to Matt Murdock in order to basically completely destroy him, and because he wants to do the plan he has in place. Anyway, so yeah, very good. I mean, for Christmas special, it's actually a really fantastic story, and it's still going into everything. I mean, going into the storyline, so it wasn't really like just like a special, like a, you know, like something they were trying to do, you know, just to push the story in. But yeah, Kingpin was really not happy about everything. So, and yeah, it's the beginning of, I think, JR so far from this issue, as far as I know. And then it's not bad. I mean, really good paneling, to be honest, as I say. And but his typical kids' faces are still present. I think it's the what's that? Mark Millar and JR's comic book made it movie. Like, oh my god, what's wrong with me?
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, Kick-Ass. There you go. So that face, you can't get away. I just like see the face. I know it's like seems like I see Kick-Ass comic book again. Nothing bad about it. I'm just saying it's just like typical JR comic. You would know straight away from, like, it's just telltale tale of that. Hello, Miss O. Thank you for my very cute avatar notice. I decided to change some things in life. I'm trying to be brave and change things. So yeah. Yeah, very good.
Cool.
We'll talk about other Marvel comic books I enjoyed reading. So this was the beginning of really good start, basically.
It's fun going through this Daredevil run with you week by week. I enjoy it.
No, this actually, yeah, it's, you know, like I said to you before, I wanted some Daredevil, and it just gives me, every single time gives me that really good storyline. And Matt Murdock is really struggling, but he's always keeping up, and he has people surrounding him, like Karen. Karen is very positive, apparently, here as well, because they are together, like a girlfriend and boyfriend. And yeah, she's very supportive, and she made that clinic they were calling, where she basically made Matt Murdock still go back doing what he knows best. He doesn't have to actually be representing them. People actually start representing themselves. That's the whole idea, and they still managed to piss off Kingpin, which is kind of good thing in a way, you know what I mean? Like, by having that that guy still managing not to do whatever he wants to do all the time. So yeah, very good, very good. Good Ann and Sandy work so far.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would have been like if Ann Nocenti and Marie Severin teamed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe. that would have been like you know, these days we have like female creators, blah blah blah, splash space. These days would be crazy, you know.
Right. Now it's something you make a big deal out of. Back then, they just were silently working there for a while and then disappear.
Yes, there's lots of people talking good things to casual film panels about Ann Nocenti, so I definitely wanted to. And I was trying to look at online one website I usually go for back issues, which is not overly priced, and I found a couple of missing in the run. So I might picking those up. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if I have funds.
I should probably pick up that run before it becomes expensive. Now that people are realizing how good it was.
Well, the thing is, if you you know that Epic editions those sold out, and they out of print.
Mm-hmm.
So they are like actually quite, like everything comes out. The Typhoid Mary, I think it was announced because the Daredevil TV show came out, and she apparently was there, isn't she? So that was getting her attention of that comic book being, you know, like something you should be buying. But I had this crappy issue of her first appearance, and I'm like super happy. It's like I don't have to fork out the money, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's just the last thing I want to do. But yeah, so far Nocenti is doing it for me, because I like the way she represents Daredevil. It seems to be he still struggles, but he's still fighting, which I really like about that Daredevil, because never gives up, you know. It seems to be he tries to give up, but he always like picks up and back to being him who he is, you know, the strength of it.
Yeah.
No. Oh, hey,
yeah, that's the draw for sure. Yeah.
Are we doing the schmancy pansy?
The fancy schmancy.
Oh,
Oh,
wait.
but you can show the rest of us on the sidebar if you want. So Terrence is probably not surprised that I have a little more to say about Walking Man, because last time I hadn't quite got to the end.
Yeah.
And so spoilers, I guess. Not that it's a real spoiler in the normal sense, but there is something different at the end of Walking Man. I can't remember how far I was before, but
yeah.
So I mean, near the end is a chapter where he takes a happy walk with his wife. I think she's his wife, and then there's a change in style. Like, so I can't remember if I covered this one or not.
I think you showed us, but you didn't cover.
Where he meets this woman on the beach, and they just have a little bit of a conversation, but it feels like there's something between them, and he's no longer a smiling guy. So it's almost, if I didn't know better, I'd say, hey, this is a different artist with a different character. But it's just him older and more serious. But then there's this sudden jump. Tokyo Illusory Journey, which is an interesting title. The style, completely different. Like he's using not only completely different pens and such, but a different approach to detail and everything, like more just based on shadows and the like. Wow. And there's sex
scene.
And the sex is not with his wife.
Oh, cheetah.
It's with a mistress, and he is not smiling at all. And so this is like such a different story. And it makes you rethink everything from before in a way. But the other thing is that this is the expanded edition. So I don't know if this story was like something he did after originally publishing this, just sort of to play around with the concept. So I wish there was more of an explanation of how all of this was meant to appear originally. I like this art too. And it's almost, I mean, it's not Brubaker and Phillips, but it almost could be more like a film noir kind of thing with the femme fatale and all of that. And I felt very, and it ends with him crying. So I'm really spoiling it. So it really like throws me for a loop, because we've just been for a couple hundred pages following this happy guy who just seems very simple and goes on walks and is smiling all the time. Then he got off his meds and had an affair. I don't know.
Yeah. Look at that.
But
picture,
then
though. That's great.
And then they take another swerve. I'm assuming this is the same character as a very young man, either a teenager or early 20s. He doesn't have glasses or anything yet. And it's again a slightly different style. And it turns color part of the way through. Or actually, it turns color when he time travels into the past by following a cat down an alleyway.
Black cats.
He's in I think turn of the century, 1900s, I think, early 1900s, Japan, and he makes friends with this man just randomly, and they go eat lunch together.
Yeah.
I don't think much else happens than that. He buys this piece of jewelry or trinket. And they have lunch together, and they talk. They're eating American or not European food. They're at a European style food restaurant, which is, I guess, exciting thing to do. And yeah, I'm trying to remember if anything else. I guess I forgot he has this conversation with this woman. What are they talking about? The cat, maybe, and the clouds. And then he finds himself back in the alley in our time. There's the cat, and I guess there's the piece of jewelry that he bought in the past. And that's the story. It's evocative. I don't know what it means, and I certainly don't know how it connects, except that he went on a walk. The only story he is going on walks in the story where he's having an affair too.
Yeah.
But I guess I should have researched after that and said, hey, maybe someone online has written what's going on here. Very intriguing. Just a huge break in the mood and tone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It feels like it's I remember reading it, and it felt to me like these were extra stories that were put in there that didn't necessarily pertain to the main body of it. And that last story is very reminiscent of the book that I read of his, the other one that I read of his that I loved.
Oh, right.
called,
That had time travel too, didn't it?
A Distant Neighborhood. Yeah, exactly. The same kind of thing, like a time travel thing. So I'm wondering if maybe those last couple of stories were just kind of those were the additions to it. But I totally agree with you, because it was jarring to me too. Like, what am I reading? How does this relate to everything else that I've read? When I think back on the book, I mean, I remember those, but I'm more focused on kind of the first, 3/4 of it, because it felt like there's your supplemental material to kind of make it this expanded. And I wonder how these things were published. I'm guessing that they were each published in there as their own, in some sort of anthology potentially. So maybe these are just a couple of other ones from that same anthology. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So that's when I was reading before on the side. I was flipping through trying to find where I wanted to start when we talked about this. But I mean, that then makes me interested in his time travel story. That was interesting.
Mhm.
Yep.
I guess if
really
they
good.
just had said these are supplemental materials that weren't originally part of the original story,
Yeah.
but tangentially relate to it.
Right.
But I feel like if I reread it next time, the whole time I read the happy guy walking around, I'm going to be thinking he's going to end up unhappy and breaking up with his wife.
And
which I suppose happens to many of us at different times in our lives.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Yes, that was Terrence in the early days
Yeah,
of
that's
his
right,
first wedding.
Wide-eyed, bushy-tailed.
And wait.
The
And
art in the
Terrence.
last couple of stories
There's
is
Terrence
like that.
at the end.
That panel is so great. Like, it's so nice, hey?
Yeah.
That shadows and stuff.
Yeah. So completely different style too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's great to know that he can switch styles like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
So anyway, I admire you, Terrence, for keeping your mouth shut when I was talking about this book, and I hadn't quite finished it.
Yeah.
You didn't want to spoil it. It was really good. So are you going to continue with that storyline, or are you intrigued to go pick up more Damien, or you had a fill?
Eventually, I have so much to read. I think I've sampled that, and I have. The next time I read something Japanese, I bought a whole bunch of Junji Ito that I still haven't read. So I think the next manga I read will be some more Junji Ito, and then I have some other manga that Bill Crabtree told me I should read, and I don't know where I put it now, so I can show you.
A fancy friend of Damien's, Bill Crabtree.
He's so fancy.
Do you remember what it was
watching
called?
this, by the way.
Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
he watches a lot of videos while he's coloring, so he probably will be watching this.
Right.
Wow. Well, hello.
Sure.
Welcome. Don't leave.
So you don't. I guess you don't remember the title then, Damien?
No.
Of the one he recommended?
No, I can't remember.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm always curious too, because there's so much out there. It's always good to get some tips.
It's probably one you know about. I'm guessing it's someone really famous.
Uh-huh.
But
famous.
I'll come up with the name in a minute. You guys
Sure,
can move on, and I'll tell you later.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Terrence?
Sure.
Oh,
So back into looking for Rick McCallum rather. He did some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Rasa. He did a couple of issues. This one and number 37. So this is number 42. Sorry, go ahead.
I've never read those earlier Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I only have a very small handful, like not very many at all.
Yeah.
So 37 is the other one he did, but this is 42. And it was great to see it again. There was a lot going on kind of visually that just reminded me of Ashley Dust. and just his style is really great. I can't say that I got too much out of the story itself, but I feel like that's because I'm jumping into issue number 42, right? So I'm sure there's stuff that I've missed, but I really enjoy his style, and I like the atmosphere and the smoke and the mist and stuff that he's able to draw, and these creatures, the positioning of people in the panels and stuff is pretty fun. Here we go. There's another one that was a really nice picture. So I wish I could tell you more about the story, but honestly, it kind of left my head the moment that I stopped reading it, because I wasn't super invested. I wasn't following it too uber closely. The turtles are fighting people, I think is the gist of it, right? But his art is really, really great.
Well, thankfully, all the stories of the turtles is not just like they fighting people.
Did they say cowabunga, dude?
That's right, and they eat pizza too, don't they?
Yeah, when say cowabunga all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that's a great page cool as well too. So
yeah,
it's amazing. Like this guy is really on my radar now, and I really want to see what else I can find. There was some stuff listed. Sometimes Comic Vine is good, and then sometimes it's really just has huge gaps in it. So I guess that means that it's all entirely like a Wikipedia user uploaded, because I think there was some gaps in there of stuff that I knew that he did that wasn't listed in that Comic Vine. Because most of the time I go there and you can get a real nice snapshot of an artist, and even where they had short stories appear or where they contributed to some books here and there. But yeah, where else? Let's check out this page. So I mean, at this point, it's just me showing you pages, really, because I don't have much else to say about it. But I guess
I love an artist who plays with panel layout like that. That's always
exactly
fun.
Yeah, it makes it way more interesting. And this stuff I don't see a lot of, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. It's not out there as much, So, and one of those books that people who have these issues aren't selling them, right? So they're holding on to them.
Yeah. That's why I haven't read
beautiful pages nonetheless.
Yeah, that's why I haven't read those issues, because of I tend not to find them. I find one issue scrambling somewhere, and I have somewhere like in my collection, but then I look again, and the only thing I used to see is those number 1, number 2, number 3, which is really rare, but they were like fetching prices in that time. And then there's this crazy boom happened with those turtles again, and those number 1, number 2, number 3 went like skyrocketed in the price.
Right.
And like to the point where like, okay, this is it. Bye. Never gonna see you again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's that one. That's one of the other couple of things that I read this week. Yeah. It was fun. Like I said, these ones, when I did grab these, I think I just grabbed them just because. And the other one that I have there is 45, which I'm going to dip into as well too, just because I may as well read it, even though there's a gap in there, right? So not the same artist, different artist. But that's the other thing that I really enjoy about this era of Ninja Turtles. There's so many kind of great guests when they decided to kind of open it up to other creators. I think that's a wonderful thing to do, and just get some other takes on your characters and other people kind of getting a shot at them, right? So really nice cover.
Yeah, love it. Beautiful. Oh, you froze. Oh, please, you still here?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm still here. Yeah.
Your screen just froze while you were showing the comic book. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's my turn. Damien's still on here. So before you came, look, Damien got his comic probably. That recommendation. Is that recommendation you just found?
Yes. So Bill thought that I would like Naoki Urasawa.
Oh yeah.
It's funny how people keep wanting to get me to like manga more.
Yeah.
So I got
once you find something that works, it's so rewarding. Urasawa is fantastic.
And I don't know how to say it. Majurishu. So
I don't know that one.
I think it's the art that he thinks will particularly grab me. I just worry that I won't like it, and then people will be pissed off.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like his storytelling is really top notch in the stuff that I've read of Urasawa.
Right.
His ability to tell a really engaging story is something else. His art is great too. Nothing against his art, but he's got a real different handle on storytelling compared to maybe some of the other manga creators.
Well, maybe I'll read one of these before I dive back into Junji Ito.
Yeah, it looks like more mellow than Junji Ito. Junji Ito is just like scare the shit out of you. Like I saw a cover and just freaked the shit out of me. The people melting like candles. I was like, wow, no, I don't know what. Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, whoa. No, yeah, exactly. Oh no, it's in color. That's the thing. It's in color, and if it would be in black and white, it would be like maybe a little bit tame. Oof. Jesus. I think it's your Twitter which I saw it, isn't it? Damon, did you share it on
Zesty
Twitter?
Clam is
maybe I
mentioning
did
in the chat.
What is it?
There's Hideshi Hino that Zesty Clam is mentioning in the chat.
He likes to do gross stuff too.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's pure,
amazing.
it's all horror stuff, and really kind of real cartoony, but also kind of horrific elements too. So
yeah, so it looks like other people agree with Bill. So I better read those books.
Good points, Bill. Let's see what it's all opinion Bill. About afterwards when you read. Yeah.
If you're listening, Bill, we approve of your recommendations.
Actually, I just realized one thing. I think out of all three of us, I'm less manga than you guys, because I actually haven't had a manga in my hands for a while. I'm all anime. You know, like I'm a fan of anime rather than reading backwards, which is, I don't know. I mean, I get used to it. I remember I was reading a couple, but just my head scrambles and I just like probably it's too much for me. But I don't know why. Hey, sauerkraut is great for you, Scott Connor. So don't say sauerkraut is gross. This is really good food.
Ragamuffin feels it's grosser than these comics.
You guys, you don't know what you're missing, man.
I like sauerkraut.
Germans, we have this Oktoberfest, and they have this like giant bratwurst with sauerkraut in it, and then there's, oh my god, there's just and a giant beer, and this is just like a perfect food. Such a disappointment you guys have.
I'll take the giant beer.
Scott just denies the truth of what you're saying.
Wow. Jesus, no.
Anything that makes you puke is not good for you. I guess sauerkraut's made him puke.
My mom makes the best sauerkraut in the world. She just like, it's the best. Anyway, I can't even do it. So I went to library prior, like I said. It's good on hot dogs. You see, Misso says it. It's true.
It is. It's great on German sausages. Sorry, I didn't. I
just want something really bad, so I'm not gonna. Anyway,
there must be some German sausage in particular you're thinking about.
Yeah.
I actually was learning. I knew a couple of Germans, but let's just leave it in that sentence. Anyway. So I went to the library and picked up 3 volumes of Hawkman. Managed to read volume 1. It's actually quite weird now that the DC is putting volumes on in here rather than on spine. Normal spine volume.
That's not smart.
Not smart at all, because then you don't know. It's just like you don't know which volume. I mean, they are, I guess, assuming that you will know by the name that this is the first story arc. But anyway. So Brian Hitch, Robert Venditti, and creations of the beginning of the first volume, the second volume, and then the third volume changes the artist, I think, as far as I know. Anyway, so I'm not really versed in Hawkman's world, and I wanted to ask you, Damien, first. Maybe you'll know. Is this like a retelling of his origin or his story kind of thing? Because as far as I remember,
I think it's kind of a retrofitting.
Changing.
So I have not read all Hawkman Origins. They change it all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think he started out as a human who found this gear that made him fly. And then they decided he was a a character that reincarnated over and over from the Egyptian times.
Yeah.
And then there was also the version where he's just a guy from the planet Ranagar.
Yeah.
And this mixes the two, right? He's been reincarnated throughout the universe on different planets,
So
including
that's what
Ranagar.
the first.
So I think it's a new view of his origin, and the idea of his being part of this, being part of this evil army, a general of some evil army, millennia ago in his first life. I think that's utterly new, as far as I know.
So Brian Hitch's art is great, first of all, but he has way too many inkers, and the art changes, which is one point I just wanted to which kind of unsettled me a little bit. But the one
I didn't notice that in individual issues, so probably when you're reading them all together, you notice the changing inkers more.
For sure. I think you're more judgmental when you're reading the whole thing. You start noticing quite a few things, especially if you just don't take too much breaks and just continue reading it.
Yeah.
So one origin I had of Hawkman, I've more familiar of that he was, that Shi'ar, love of two lovers who basically got the same time reincarnations and Egyptian god, and that's the only thing I remember of Hawkman. When here our Robert Venditti decides to basically expand his reincarnations with a twist of why he is not remembering things. So when he reincarnates, he kind of remembers stuff of his previous lives. But apparently in this storytelling of our Robert Venditti, that's saying that he's kind of loses some fragments and it bothers him. So it starts in this really beautiful Greek island where he's going after an artifact. So he's an archaeologist and he's doing that, looking for artifacts and stuff like that. But then he's fighting this giant monkey, which I absolutely love the scenes in here. I think they were really spectacular. It's a really great way to actually introduce the storyline, I think. So it's great fighting scenes. And then after that, basically, he decides to go to Xanadu, the late Madame Xanadu, and decides to ask her help to remember his previous lives. And then she kind of helps him, or rather than unlocks his parts of the brain. And she does that in this panel here, which is kind of nice. He sits down, she draws the blood of his, and suddenly the floor just disappears beneath his feet. And then you have this scene of him going through into the past or present, and then seeing his old lives. One thing intrigues me, especially in this one, is that he was part of Krypton, which was that another part which I didn't reach yet. I think is in second volume. They will be mentioning now more of that storyline, so I'm not sure of that. But I really liked the way it looked. And then his nightmare, this scene here, like a bad dream, where he is basically seeing this giant hawk people, and then they called Deathbringers. And then he's thinking what's happening, why I have to keep on seeing it, and it seems to be Earth will be basically destroyed, and then he needs to do something about it. And that's why his quest of basically finding out a little bit more about what's happened really in previous lives is. And then the story continues, and I really like the way he started traveling into his past life, so introducing us a bit more of the story. So if you're not familiar, and if you're new reader to Hawkman, it's really good to introduce you to the world, gets you familiar with his previous lives. Like this is the famous, the one I know of the Egyptians times, and that the metal which gives him his abilities, the nymph metal, which because he has a special properties which makes them fly, and they have his weapons, and apparently it's very rare. And then one thing which I really enjoyed was when he went into see an atom. This issue, I think 5 or 6 of it, and then he goes to see Atom. And Atom is another character I'm not really familiar with of the DC universe, and then so they are kind of like buddies. And so the pacing is really good. What I wanted to say as well, the storyline flows really nicely, continuously intrigues me, especially as right at the end we kind of find the true parts of these Deathbringers. And the second volume, I started reading second volume of the first issue just because I didn't want it to like have a ending with a like I just wanted to know what's going to happen in the second volume, and we find out that brings us and Hawkman's true involvement. Anyway, really good stories so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad I'm being able to find that in the library. Of course, big 2 is much easier to get hold of in libraries. It seems to be it's easier to get people to read. And so far it's great, absolutely fantastic. And then, as I say, I'm intrigued with the Krypton part of his because that he was part of it. And I was volume 3. Wow, this is so difficult to find out which volume I'm at. Yeah, and in volume 1 starts with spoilers basically already. I'm just going to show you this page, which I really enjoyed.
Brian Hitch is still a very good artist. I remember thinking when this was coming out, because people kind of forgot about him. He was a superstar during the Ultimates, but
and then this page of him basically almost being like Superman, like the Superman pose, and him being Krypton. That's how Hawkman appeared in Krypton, and in that time and space, whenever he was reincarnated to. So I haven't read it since like page after that, so I will be intrigued to see what's happening. But so far Robert Venditti's writing is good. Like the pacing, as I say, is really fantastic, and character storyline is intriguing because it's kind of mystery and you keep on going through pages and pages to find out what's happening. It's kind of interesting that he already kind of discloses the whole storyline already in volume 2, I guess, to keep the readers interested to continue with the series, because at the end of the day somehow you have to keep the audience coming back to you. So it's a good way to do that. But I was like, kind of, Joel, really, you explained that already in volume 2? The whole whatever secret was from volume 1, because he wasn't disclosing that at all. But as I say, very good. I know you were talking, Damien, about this comic book, and you really enjoyed it.
When it was coming out, it was one of my favorite DC series.
Yeah.
And I would say Robert Venditti is one of DC's best, just a good, solid superhero story writer that doesn't get a lot of hype.
Yeah.
So if you see something with his name on it, it's usually going to be a fun superhero read. There was a really good 12-issue miniseries he did called, I think, Freedom Fighters. That was in an alternate universe where the Nazis had won.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was done really well. And that Hawkman thing, there was a period where it got a little less good because of some event going on, but then it picks back up. So I think if they have all the volumes, I think it's worth pursuing all the way. I mean,
I'm not. Is it 3 volumes? This is how far it went? Because I'm not sure. Because I saw.
No, I think it must have gone further than that. I could look at my CLZ. I mean, maybe they didn't publish it all in.
It says like volumes. Issue 14. How many issues there was? Or 15?
No, I think there were more like 30 issues.
Wow! So let
me look quickly.
Yeah. It doesn't say even here. At the back it says volume 3. It's like really, it only tells you the issues.
It went 29 issues total.
Oh, okay. Because
the second half was actually, even though it didn't have Brian Hitch, was actually extremely good. Yeah. There was just a middle period where it kind of slumped a little.
Yeah. Pat Olife is the artist on the volume 3 here, but James Harron of Hawkman's rendition.
Pat Olive might have been my least favorite artist in the series. Not that he was horrible, but then another really good artist came along. I can't remember his name now. He had a Spanish name.
Yeah. Anyway, so far, it's very different art style to Hitch. I mean, kind of similar, but you can see it's more scratchy. Example of that Pat Olive.
Hitch is so good at those different size differentials, giant creatures and small things.
Will be interesting to see what's happening here anyway. So yeah, very pleased with library having that. So the minute I saw them, I was like, should I pick just volume 1? I was like, nah, I'll just take all the 3 if I can. So I just picked them up all up. So yeah, and I'm already in volume 2. So very good. So I had a kick. I wanted something like DC. I usually tend to, especially the characters, those non-big 6 or big 5, whatever characters I really enjoy.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
You're our superhero girl today.
Yeah, I am kind of like really much so. And then the next one I will talk about is superheroes, Marvel superheroes. Anyway, so Mr. Sleepy Damien's turn.
Okay, I'm gonna change my screen share to a different screen, and it will sort of be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where is the right screen? So many screens.
Oh, that one.
But we don't want Amazon. So there was this series that I've probably seen somewhere, but just was not ever thinking about, called Bizarro Comics. Mm-hmm. And there's a digital trade. There's probably a physical trade of the whole series, like over 450 pages. Mm-hmm. And the conceit is that Bizarro has drawn all the comics in this trade.
Mm-hmm. Holy smokes.
And he draws like a lot of different alternative comics artists.
Amazing. I'm sold already, and I've seen like 2 pages.
So there's like an overarching story that has 2 parts within the trade, where Mr. Mixelplix is getting Bizarro to try to help him win this contest against this creature that's just called A, that wants to take over the 5th dimension. But Mixelplix doesn't want Bizarro to help him. But anyway, so Terrence probably knows. I know I should know who Bob Fingerman is.
Oh yeah, Bob Fingerman. Minimum Wage, I think, was the series.
Is he the
from
minimum
him.
wage guy? Okay,
I believe
I just
so. Yeah,
love this spoof on Superman here with the art by Bob Fingerman. I have no idea who the writer Sam Henderson is either. I knew I should know who Bob Fingerman is.
I think Sam Henderson is another kind of indie small press. I think he was a writer. Yeah, I'm blanking on his character. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So they basically invited all these alternative creators to come in and make fun of different aspects of the DC universe. So it's before DCU. I think this was like 2004 or so. I have to double check, but it was early 2000s. I think DC was a bit more innovative in the early 2000s, when sales were bad for everybody and people were just trying all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So that's kind of an exciting time to look at both Marvel and DC when you're looking through the 50-cent bins or dollar bins. So anyway, I love this one that's a joke on the super pets. Clark's parents send him with basically a Noah's Ark full of animals stuck in the rocket ship with him, and they all have superpowers. So there he is on the farm, and there's all the pets. There's a goat and a monkey, or a baboon and a pig.
What a great
walrus
idea.
and a frog and an elephant. So and they're producing so many eggs and so much wool and stuff, they have a factory, Kent Co. And then when he moves to Metropolis, all the animals move with him. So instead of, look, it's a plane, a man in the sky, no, it's an elephant. So no one cares about Superman. They're also excited over all the super pets that no one will pay attention to him, and Lois won't give him the time of day. And so it ends with him like just upset he can't get a job at the Daily Planet. And then a final thing on Krypton where they say, well, what do you know? The planet didn't blow up after all. So, I mean, I haven't finished reading the whole thing because I'm reading it with my daughter. So,
dude,
And here is an incredible Tony Millionaire illustrated,
Amazing,
written by Chip Kidd, who's a famous, I think, graphic designer.
Yeah.
This is just incredible to look at.
Really nice.
And an evil character called the Monk, who must be from the 40s, I guess, says that he's gonna kidnap Robin, and Batman will be crying and can't do anything about it. And he takes over Robin's body. and then Batman is hearing Robin's voice coming from a microphone or speaker in his utility belt, and he chases after him. Robin goes around town as the Monk. He kicks an old lady's dog. He upsets the waiters at a fancy restaurant. He defaces art in the museum. He rips everyone's wigs off at a fancy party. And then Batman finds him at the typical Gothic cathedral. And that guy in the red is the Mad Monk. And then Robin turns out to be inside this bird. I'm just totally spoiling it because it's all just a goof.
Yeah.
Robin's inside this bird inside the cage. And Batman lets him out, and Robin goes inside the Monk and pulls this like worm creature out.
Ew.
It's just silly and bizarre, but the artwork is so great.
So good, yeah.
Like that.
And there's the cover there. I wanted to show you this one. This one's not that good, but it's drawn by Bob Fingerman again, but it's written by Patton Oswalt, and it's just a joke on that Batman smells and Robin laid an egg. Jingle bells, Batman smells.
Yes.
Song. So different scenes from the song happen. Like Robin lays an egg there, and it ends kind of quickly. But then the story afterwards I really loved. It's the Specter. Who did this one? Craig Thompson. Is that the guy who did Blankets?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So and Chris Duffy, I don't know who the writer is, but I loved this artwork and the way he portrayed the Specter. But this is just at the police office with Jim Corrigan, who's really grumpy. And so every time someone commits an office offense, they get punished by the Specter.
Yeah.
So this guy forgot to order a 3-hole binder, so he gets 3 holes punched in him by the Specter. Another guy, I forget. I don't know if he's just annoying. Oh, he spills coffee on Jim Corrigan, so he gets stirred into a giant coffee cup.
Wow.
And another guy who forgot to order paper gets turned into a tree and then turned into paper. Someone who steals a Specter's sandwich from the refrigerator gets a sandwich full of little devils. And a guy who's doing annoying whistling gets his head turned into a whistle. So anyway, and visually it's wonderful, and it's colored by Dave Stewart. It's just really a delight.
Wow.
So
how did I miss this series?
They must be in those boxes somewhere.
They have to be. They're on my. I'm gonna find these suckers. Yeah.
So after we read these digitally, I will eventually look for the physical copies. But I think it's because you look at the cover and it doesn't sink in on you how radical it's going to be inside.
Yeah.
And it also it looks like it's just going to be a Bizarro comic, but it's actually Bizarro's look at the DC universe.
Such a great premise. They were mentioning it in the comments too. Marvel did Strange Tales, where it was Peter Bagg was involved, and it was a similar kind of thing. All these Indian underground artists doing some issues. Actually, not just them. I think even guys like Raphael Grandpa might have shown up in there as well too. So
yeah, and this cover's by Matt Groening. Yeah, so I've really only started to explore this, and my daughter knows so much about the DC universe. Her favorite thing is jokes on it more than reading the regular DC universe.
That's cool.
So
good to know.
Yeah, that's probably the best.
Not a series. Just came out in a hardcover.
Really?
Huh. That's what AFPC is saying. Unless he's talking about something else. Maybe I'm not following.
They show individual covers throughout the trade.
Yeah, hey.
So it looked to me more like it was at least 5 or 6 issues, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'll look into it later.
Yeah.
I actually just discovered this yesterday, so we read a bunch of these yesterday. But
that
it was
arc is my favorite here.
It was the best comic I read this week for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, you can take my screen out and return to normal life.
Out of the Bizarro verse.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, super cool.
Very something never seen or missed out, like you say before. But it's it's difficult to get like those kind of things that you see probably in the shops, and it passes you by, and not that much information comes through. But
yeah.
Maybe it was intended for individual issues, and then they never did it, and they still had covers laying around. I don't know.
I might have seen the graining cover and just bypassed it because I'm not the biggest Simpsons head or anything, so I might have thought it was associated with that as opposed to a cool anthology.
Right. So, Mr. Crack the Crack.
I didn't read anything else.
Shame.
I mean, the other stuff that I read is I found this that Gore was talking about last time. And I mean, I'm not going to try to even talk about this after Gore Vidal talking about it. Suffice it to say, watch that video. It was a great issue. And then the only really other thing that I read was issue 2 of the new Daredevil, The Woman Without Fear. And I'm going to give it one more issue, and then I think I might bail if it doesn't kind of pick up. This one was just kind of whatever. It was kind of weak or whatever. So it didn't impress me too much. Yeah, that's really all that I read. I when I went to pick up stuff today, well, my comic guy got this in for me, so I haven't sat and read the whole thing yet, but that's on the list to read next. So I'm excited about that. And I found a random Drawn and Quarterly while I was there too, anthology. So I haven't dipped into this like this. I just picked up yesterday, but it looks like it's got some great stuff. I mean, the usual, like Seth is in here. A guy named Baru, Baru, looks like it's from 1995, and I really like the style on it. Do I think I don't know. I would have enjoyed it. I think like you were mentioning in the chat, that one, I think you're 100% on where he talks about stuff, and it really brings another dimension to the books. I would have enjoyed it because it was a pretty good story, but I definitely liked it more because of him talking about it. He's got as we all know, he's got a way of talking about comics and putting them in this kind of framework that is really incredible. So I'm really liking this artist. I don't know anything about him or her. I'm assuming a him, but it looks really great. Has that European kind of flavor to it. So yeah, I'm not. I don't know much about this. I don't know if it's just like the Drawn and Quarterly magazine anthology because it calls it Gypsy Joe Love on the front. But I'm really looking forward to dipping into this. I don't find a lot of kind of Drawn and Quarterly singles out there or anything. And then I just found a random Savage Sword of Conan with Red Sonja and King Kull. And there's an amazing killer cover. And the other good thing about the Red Sonja in this is it's of course Frank Thorne. And I mean, look at this page, man.
And look at how graceful she's on that horse, eh?
He's stellar. He's really an unbelievable artist. And then of course you get the obligatory Thorne dressed up as a wizard and his wife photos. It seems like everything that Thorne does, you see some photos of him dressed up as this wizard. My son got a huge kick out of this. He thought this was fantastic when I was showing him this as we were looking through it. He thought that was hilarious. So yeah, I'm looking forward to dipping into this one. So nice to find a random Conan that has some amazing art in it. So yeah, I wish I had more to talk about, but I don't. I picked up some things today. I actually wanted to ask Damien before we move on. The guys at 204 Comics today, they were having a sale on back issues. And and I picked up some dollar books, but he threw in one for free for me. And I was just curious if you know it, Damien, this book called Mega.
No,
It's almost
I have not heard of
magazine
it.
size,
Huh.
but look at this detail.
Wow.
They had issue number 1 and 2. It's a $7.99 book from Stonebot Comics. So nothing that I know, but that level of detail is the
Is
same
it
on the
kind of a
inside
kaiju
as well.
story?
Yeah, it looks to be. The guy was telling me that he thinks it's like a robot, but look at this detail on this
That's amazing.
character here. Really incredible. So super nice of them to kind of pass that off to me.
Yeah.
They only had a couple of issues in.
I think
there
I've
as
seen
well,
one or
so-
two
But I've never heard of the
Stonebot.
company.
I've seen one or two
Go ahead,
Stonebot
Damien.
comics show up at my shops, but very rarely. Very, very rarely.
Right. Yeah, brand new name to me. Look at that there. It looks amazing. I'm just showing you the
Yeah.
monster stuff. There's other pages here too,
Right.
but it's the monster, the giant creature stuff that's most impressive, right? So I'm looking forward to this, and hopefully it'll be good because they've got the second issue there, and next time I'm in, I can grab it.
That artist worked his butt off
Andrew
on that
Lopez is
work,
saying he knows it.
and then no one
Yeah.
ever saw it.
Yeah.
Salvador Sands. So script and art by Salvador Sands. And this is
Wow.
December 2021 is when this first issue is out.
Oh.
Absolutely looks like a castle ragamuffin, yeah.
So Castle gone bad?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we will report us next Sunday then. Maybe you'll do more homework
For
and
sure I
read a
will.
little bit more. Yeah.
This is on the top of the list though. I'm so
you're
excited
gonna-
to get into this one.
This is
That'll
gonna
be
be
a
Can't
quick
wait.
read.
I
Yeah.
really like that issue.
You're gonna read that like in half an hour, and you like say, "I want more." Probably.
I know. I'm still crying, waiting for the next volume.
Yeah. And you never know when it's
Right,
gonna come out, isn't it? They don't really.
Right. There's no regular.
Yeah, there's nothing really regular comes out.
Is
So
that
I'm
one of
gonna
the
take
books that they're doing online first and then doing print versions
Yes.
of? Okay.
Yeah.
They have that in what is that name from?
Panel Syndicate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
That's the one.
the pay whatever you want to pay.
Yeah. You
thing.
can just pay nothing if you feel like you're brave
Right.
enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, just saying. So I'm gonna take you to the Marvel world.
Back to Marvel.
Yes, back to Marvel. And I'm going for John Byrne. I've just while I was looking through my Daredevil, somehow I realized I want to look at Fantastic Four, and I saw this cover. 249, and also I read 250 following this one, so it was quite a bit of read. So it's a perfect kick for. I just realized one thing. I am a big fan of Fantastic Four, in especially kind of the old, even the new stuff. Actually, I'm really enjoying, but as a team, I really like it. So the Gladiator comes in, and it's this. Can Fabulous FF survive the ultimate confrontation, the man and the Superman? So this is how the story starts. So it's John Byrne art and story. You have even the color, he has colorists, George Russo's and Letterer, but he's doing everything else apparently. So Jim Shooter is still editor, and this story kicks off with Skrulls. So Gladiators as battling Skrulls, and then because of that battle, he basically ends up becomes like a Starborn, and then he shoots into Earth. And to coincidence of next page, we see a strolling Thing and Human Torch walking in the park and basically having just normal conversation. and they meet this apparently one of the girlfriends of our John Storm, who's looking really weirdly in clown. And first thing I thought about haha straight away, because anything clown now is haha comic books in my face. But the thing doesn't want to be part of the conversation, because in his head insecurity comes through and thinks that the girl is afraid of him. So he turns like kind of in politely way from them and leaves them alone into his conversation, and thing leaps into action. And his horse basically the girl gets saved because she's strolling through the park with the horse. I guess that's what happens in Manhattan. Anyway, and then the horse goes crazy, and then the thing just basically picks up the horse and picks up the girl basically and saves the day. And then in that moment, you have this great Fantastic Four. There's always explanation of the building of the Fantastic Four, what's where and what's going to happening. And Reed reads this alert, and is thinking there's some shrapnel, or like those meteors are going into the Earth, but no, it's Gladiator. He appears like superhero pose. Here I am, and he's talking in the alien language, and it's like nobody understands you, and he just starts causing havoc. So apparently, Gladiator is thinking that all the Fantastic Four is Skrulls, because he's been battling the first few pages. He was battling Skrulls. He was thinking that he's still battling Skrulls on Earth. And then they trying, and the thing, like he always does, things that he can subdue the Gladiator. And he picks up the car, but instead, in next page, we see him basically going, like he's been tossed through cars, like 100 cars, and into the corner. And the thing is, it's like, what? I can't believe it. I've never had like such a punch for such a long time. Like he is. And then basically Fantastic Four, of course, gets involved. And then it's really action-packed series. Human Torch becomes Human Torch and decides like, oh look, I'm gonna have this flame bar to stop him, but he doesn't realize that the powers Gladiator has, that it supersedes his, and then he actually manages to tremble the whole building, the 37-floor building. So he almost picks it up and starts to shake it, and the Fantastic Four thinks it's an earthquake. But then there's good lines of like Reed Richards. No, I strengthened from the earthquakes. Has like a proper building security that shouldn't happen, but then of course it doesn't work really well for them, and basically kind of defeats them. Even tosses the poor Franklin around like a baby. It doesn't matter. It's like, because he still thinks it's Skrull. He tossed to Franklin like a leaf, and Franklin's is like really pissed off little kid, but he has like crazy powers. But in the previous issues, Franklin has decided that because he turned into a man, and the previous show I was reading, I was telling you guys as well, they decided to subdue his powers. And when he's going to be a bit of age, because having that much powers of being like 7 or like 5, I think is in here, not really great for the kids' maturity anyway. But the things escalates to the point when you see the X-Men, I get excited, and Comic Crack is probably gonna fall asleep down in the chair while listening to me, because X-Men gets involved, and that's how we get into Fantastic Four issue number 250. So that was very breezy, like really fast paced. And this is 250 issue special. I was like, oof, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to read, because I actually was reading this today, because those two, like an extra like 48 pages or something, or 36 pages long. Yeah, 36 pages long. But the story was absolutely fantastic once again. And then it starts with X Factor, and then Spider-Man on the page, and you're like confused. And then it just explains to you, don't worry. It's like, no, reader, you haven't picked up the wrong magazine. This is the Fantastic Four. And that is an amazing Spider-Man swinging over Midtown Manhattan, the sunny autumn afternoon, if that we need to know. And he finds this like a he thinks it's like a cloth or some building material. It's like, what is this? And he finds the hand, and then he's like, oh yeah, I know who it belongs to. So apparently, in order to defeat Reed Richards, Gladiator is basically makes him to expands him so much to that he actually even loses his consciousness.
Right.
And Spider-Man is like, no, don't worry, I'll bring every single part for you, and I'll help you to basically and see. And of course, Reed Richards is telling him the story, what's happened, and you have, of course, the panel where every panel you'll have, because Spider-Man is involved. So his first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 15, is that what?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm doing facts today.
Yeah.
So this is this page famous, basically panel, and Reed Richards hanging on to this dear life, and then I was like, wow. So X Factor's like X-Men is appearance, Colossus, everybody's here, and I was like, they starting to be really like pissed off X-Men, like they were like mouthing off. They starting to like basically beating this Gladiator to the pulp, and Gladiator's like, no way, how like, I'm not dealing with them really well. And it also jumps into the story of Captain America, because Captain America needs to be involved as well, because he's in Manhattan and he's just sitting down in the restaurant having a meal with Betty, which I don't know who's Betty. Apparently he's his girlfriend who doesn't get attention from Captain America in that time, on that time period of Marvel comic books.
Yeah,
but of course, Steve Rogers gets, like, oh, look at this, look at those muscles shining, and it becomes ripped to the pulp. Anyway.
No, don't you think that picture of Kingpin with his shirt off was better?
Ripped.
Well, to each our taste, yeah.
Yeah, I just hope.
I really like this. I think the John Byrne did such a fantastic thing with those crumbles, and then there's this letter, the thing, and stuff like that. Such a good way of using the panels, anyway. And the famous, I really like the way Storm looks. This is the Storm of mine. Like, a lot of people like when she has a mohawk, but I really like the way she's here, like new X-Men. She's like a giant size X-Men. She's like appear like this. Anyway, so there is a Nightcrawler here, and he's very feisty, and he doesn't speak German. And Spider-Man's like, I don't think he speaks German. He doesn't, and then even saying in speech bubble, say he doesn't sprechen Deutsch. Even wrote in the panels in here. So there's a couple of great scenes, a lot of fight scenes, but of course we find out why. This is not an X-Men. Because of telltale signs, what you're reading before in the issue prior, it's Skrulls pretending to be, or Super Skrulls actually, pretending to be X-Men. Because even Captain America couldn't defeat Colossus. But of course, Reed Richards, the cleverest man of them, and of course because it's Fantastic Four comic, he understands how to defeat Gladiator, and by defeating Gladiator, they managed to defeat the Skrulls as well in the end. So really good. So that's how one of the Skrulls gets found out. So he's pretending to be Cyclops, and he gets jabbed by other Super Skrull, and he ends up being the Skrull dead Skrull lying on the floor. So that's how they find out that they're actually Skrulls infiltrating the X-Men, or pretending to be an X-Men. And so this is how Reed Richards cleverly pretends. And then actually, it's funny, I was like thinking, wow, Reed Richards can take a punch, because Gladiator's punching him. But then, because it's comics, oh no, it's Captain America and his shield doing all the job. So it's fantastic. Really, such a good way of telling. Like, so it's perfect superhero comic, to be honest. It has everything. It has scenes. It has laughter. Of course, you have the Thing and his insecurities because of the Fantastic Four, and you have those moments of clobbering time. But you have those panels like this, which is absolutely fantastic. How Human Torch managed to basically, kind of in a way, subdue Skrulls is by basically flying to sound sonic boom kind of speed. and then Skrulls are unable to do that. So really good, and that's how it ends. And Gladiator's always, oh, I'm so sorry, I made a huge mistake. I was probably in the fight. I never thought really to stop and think that you weren't Skrulls, as I was telling you you were. And then he just flies away and says bye bye. And that's how comic ends. But honestly, John Byrne's Fantastic Four is a gem. It really is.
Yeah.
It's great panels, great storytelling. It is a little bit quirky at some points, but Sue Storm is never like that cheesy Storm. She's always helping there. She's trying to do her part, what she supposedly happy. At the end of the day, she's part of some Fantastic Four, and all this other characters who came in. It just helped. This, of course, it's a special 250th issue. So
yeah,
but
I really took it for granted at the time, and now it's like, wow, that was so good.
Yeah, but it's highly recommended.
How soon after that did he go and do Superman at DC? I'm thinking.
Wow. You should tell us that.
Can you show the issue of the cover of the issue before again? Because I feel like there's a cover very much like that he did with Superman. Like either fighting the Teen Titans or some other group like that.
Yeah.
And that he called that issue Man and Superman because obviously he's knowing that he's doing a bit of a Superman take with the Gladiator. So it's sort of like Superman versus the Marvel universe there.
Yeah. Because he was just overpowering them throughout both issues. But until
a lot of his powers were like Superman.
Yeah, and then he's using telekinesis and all that sorts of stuff, and then decides to get to pretend. He takes his whole powers away by beating them to the pulp, basically pretend Reed Richards, but actually a vibranium shield, and he gets really tired, and Reed Richards basically subdues him, basically makes him sleep. And that's how they defeated him, which is great. I mean, it's just exactly how you would think the superheroes comic books these days would be written as well, but they have, of course, underlying difference to make you interested in reading them. And then this is the way my superheroes should be done, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. Every single time I pick or read something from an era of 82 or something 70s, 82s, it's just right up my alley and just goes through exactly where I want. And I really like the Fantastic Four. The more I read about them, the more I'm just having more fun because it's just intriguing to see all those characters together. So,
amazing. So I'm gonna probably go back and read some of that soon.
Yeah, I really love it. Every single time, as I say, I read an issue, it just smile, gives me a grin on my face. So I was like, yeah, should do that more often. So.
And I think Byrne purposely set out to finally do Sue right. He was aware that she had been treated badly by a lot of writers, most of all Stan Lee.
Yeah, the earlier issues, she had a prominent role in there, and everybody was subdued, but Sue was there just basically helping. And then she was the main one when Franklin Richards was basically going into his powers exploded, and he turned into old man, almost looking like Jesus. And she basically looked at him, and Franklin just basically a 4-year-old mind with a grown-up body, but he sees the mother, and mother's like, Franklin, what are you up to? And he's like, he calms down kind of thing, like mother's charm of that sense. But she's there, she's so much stronger than what, unfortunately, Stan Lee was using her in the early era of the Fantastic Four. So.
Zesty Clam makes a really great point. Gladiator was a novel that came out maybe in the 1920s that was a huge influence on Siegel and Schuster's idea of Superman. Yeah. It was about a genetic Superman. I read it once a long, long time ago. But it is interesting then there's a character named Gladiator who seems Superman-like, and John Byrne used him and called it Man and Superman. So he's definitely was playing with all those connections.
Well,
and I think he was I think he was in talks for doing Superman for quite a while. So that he may have already been thinking about Superman at the point where he did those issues. I have to look into the dates more. But,
yeah. So this is 82. Well, released. Yeah, so you can
Right.
actually
Okay,
see-
so that's quite a while before he did Superman. So I may be wrong
Yeah.
on that particular conjecture.
Yeah. Because
But
Gladiator is more in the X-Men realm because he's a Shi'ar Empire,
Right,
basically a
right.
soldier of Shi'ar Empire.
yeah,
And X-Men is prominent because they were fighting. And Cyclops' dad is actually part of Shi'ar Empire. So there you
yeah.
go. All the knowledge coming out from my...
And I'm sure it was a big deal to have an issue where John Byrne is doing the X-Men again.
Yeah.
Because everyone was so sad when he left the X-Men.
Yeah, I mean because Giant Size X-Men was it was his, isn't it?
No, that was Cockrum.
I come from after John Byrne was going after.
John Byrne
that.
came a little bit after Cockrum, and then and that's when the X-Men exploded in popularity, and then he took his the power he got from being on such a popular comic to demand to do his own writing.
Exactly. But anyway, John Byrne is fantastic for his. There's omnibuses of his printed, of course, and it's if you, as I say, if you haven't even tried Fantastic Four in that era, I highly recommend. It's such a blast. It's beautifully told and just beautifully rendered comic book anyway, in general. Right, Mr. Damien, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I have odds and ends. I'm trying to think of. Well, just because it may be of interest, I read part of Heavy Metal, Heavier Metal.
What?
I'm assuming these were reprints, but I'm not sure. And the main thing is it says all new stories complete in this issue. So it's not the endlessly continued issues of continued stories of the original Heavy Metal. And when did this come out? I don't see. Indicia. This is 1983. So I haven't read all of it yet, but I wasn't really that happy. I wasn't really that happy with what I've read so far. There was this Mobius story with, nice looking art. I like it's the more scratchy Mobius, I guess. And I like that, seeing that style. So it's two astronauts find a planet that's full of some
babes.
No babes. No babes at all. I'm sorry to tell you. It's full of some thing they like to mine. I forget what they call it, like omnipotentia or something. No, they call it bilenium. It's full of bilenium that they like to mine. So they go down to explore and they wonder if there's any intelligent life there. And they find this artifact that tells them, so intelligent life has built something and left it behind. So there must have been intelligent life here. And they go in to explore. And it's pretty obvious right away what they're exploring. It's a sandcastle.
Yeah.
And so they go in the sandcastle. They say that the architecture in here makes no sense. And then a kid comes and kicks down the sandcastle, and that's the end of the story.
Well, that's a bit. I wouldn't think. That's crazy, but it's good.
Here's something for you, Terrence. I haven't read this.
Well, there you go, Terrence. That's exactly the page you were looking for.
That's better. Now we're talking.
With my luck, Lillian came into the room right when I showed up.
Yeah.
You say.
And then there's this one by Kaza called Axolotus. And there are these people that just live in slime. And one of them decides to climb up to talk to their god. And he have you seen this one before?
I haven't, but I love Kaza, the stuff that I've seen.
He climbs up this long, I don't know what it is. He climbs up something and he starts talking to God and telling God how great he is and stuff. And then God doesn't answer.
Of course it doesn't.
God has a different name than God, though. It's Zutan. And finally he gets really mad and curses out God and says, you're a lousy God and you don't do anything. And then he gets struck by lightning and he falls off of the prominence that he's on, flaming, comes down. and his flame, he survives. He
Wow.
becomes this lava-like creature, and his
Uh-huh.
flames ignite all the other creatures. And at the end, he takes on the name. Is it Lucifer? Oh, they're salamanders. They become salamanders, but he also takes on the name Lucifer. So it's kind of mixing together the fall of Lucifer and the mythological fire salamanders.
Right.
So it doesn't really make
Man.
any sense, but it's a great excuse to have some really cool art.
And that shift in colors that as the story
Yeah.
goes, so great. And 4 panels per page, like it was there.
Right.
Beautiful stuff. He's a
Yeah.
hell of an artist, man.
I
It's not
think
like a
an
painting.
excuse for the art is what all this
Absolutely,
boils
yeah.
Yeah.
down. And another one I read, who is the by I don't know the name Voss, but I really liked the art in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And this is a woman who only wears stars on her breasts.
oh wow, that's a good way disguised.
What's her name? I don't. She's searching for someone named Phalanx. You know, you may not make a connection there, but I did. And she finds this spaceship, and when she goes on it, she finds there's these aliens who are like brain slugs. So they attach a brain slug to her, and they've got a lot, and they're mostly working with these monkey-looking aliens, but they've also got her friend Phalanx, and they're planning to come to Earth. Eventually, we see. Let's see where it is. There's all the brain slugs waiting to go to Earth and get everybody.
Great pages.
And all along she has a robot companion. And anyway, the art's really cool. And,
really good.
I was gonna spoil the ending just because it's so
yeah.
Wow. But the robot, when they bring out her, when they bring out where is he? I guess this is the guy she was looking for. Whoops, Phalanx. Her friend Phalanx. He's got a brain slug on him, and the robot tells them, "Oh, you don't want humans; they're very inferior." And then he tells her to do a striptease. So she does a striptease, which is kind of ironic because she's already mostly naked, and Phalanx gets so
mostly
worked up.
Yeah,
that
very happy
that his passion for her striptease makes the brain slug fall off of him. And then the brain slugs are like, "Oh, that's so gross. We hate this kind of old-fashioned way of reproducing. Although our way of reproducing is so sophisticated, we got bored of it. But anyway, so they decide not to invade Earth. And they go off to find some other place to invade."
Yeah.
So naked babes saved the planet.
Yes. You can tell your partner, male or female, that they need to do a striptease for you to help save humanity.
Save Save Earth. Brain slugs, baby. Brain slugs.
Oh, here you go. Here's another. I haven't read this one, but here's another one for you. Little Egyptian hoochie coochie.
Hoochie coochie.
I don't know. You know, I think in my mind, heavy metal was deeper than it was.
Yeah.
In my memory. So I'm glad for the art, but I kept hoping there'd be a little bit something more in the stories. But I haven't read all of it.
Yeah, no, they're fun, man. I mean, the stories are whatever, but they're super fun.
Yeah. I can't read that all day long, but it's fun to
absolutely not.
It.
No. Yeah.
So is that Kaza guy artist? Is he painted? He looks painted. Every single
It
look
looks
like
painted here,
a painting, because it's just like really well rendered. Then if it's not painted,
right? It's. I don't know what whether it's literally painted with a brush or maybe an airbrush.
Yeah.
I could even imagine if you had a big enough artboard that you're doing this with like pastels and chalks and things like that. mixed with some ink work. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, obviously they did not have digital back then. This would have been done prior to 1983 since it was an import from Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, his art's. I would like to find some more Kaza for the art.
Yeah. Didn't they have it like? Oh look, he's already showing you something.
Escape from Suburbia by Kaza.
Yeah, so this is like a big from NBM. I showed it off quite a while ago. It must have been at least a year ago now. And it's a good collection of stuff from heavy metal. But the interesting thing about this stuff is you can really see, Paulo was talking about kind of the similarities to some Corbin with that painted stuff. In this, you can really see some similarities to some Mobius and stuff. He was sort of kind of talked about a little bit as kind of a Mobius ripoff, but I can see where there's similarities, but I do feel like he has his own style. Right. And it's
maybe a cross between Corbin and Mobius, if you want to be reductive.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Stuff like this. Just his line work and things, right? So it's a really, really great collection of stuff though, because it's what are we at? 64 pages. And it's this really nice, big, oversized volume. I mean, you get some short stories that are collected from. I'm assuming they all appeared in heavy metal, but you get to kind of explore a couple of different facets of his art. So that's worth keeping an eye out for out there. There's that magazine. So like, bigger even than a magazine. So we're talking, a nice sized volume of stuff here. So
that would be a good way with someone like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Had you ever heard of Voss before?
Oh, what's Zesty saying? There's a Kaza animated short film on YouTube. Oh, wow.
Had you heard of Voss, the one who did this other one?
That's cool.
I mean, I know it's not
I have
spectacular, but I really liked his style.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm blanking on his first name, but I do know because he's appeared in other heavy metal stuff and stood out to me. Paulo, that would be awesome. Next Cavern of Chaos, that would be great.
Yeah.
I just had one more thing to show Damien to get his 2 cents in, because when I was searching in the dollar bins, I grabbed 2 issues of this. Eric, Son of Thunder. So it was cheap.
I remember it extremely
and
fondly.
I figured I'd give it a shot. You do remember? Okay, yeah.
I remember it extremely fondly, but I've been recollecting it, but I haven't reread any of it since the early 80s.
Right.
And some of it
pretty good. Like this.
Some of it has some really great artists in it. It changes over time, so I don't know which artists are there.
So Roy Thomas writer, Ernie Colin and Alfredo Alcala.
Yeah,
in this one.
That's a nice pairing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And then there's a backup story in this one too. We just get to it. Ernie Colin as well. So this is Valda, the Iron Maiden, which also looks pretty.
She's a character from. She's a character from the comic. So she is a female knight, kind of a Joan of Arc type of character, I guess.
Right.
The idea is that Eric is a American Indian who was brought over to medieval Europe, but it's a medieval Europe full of magic and sorcery.
Right. And that was one of the things that drew me to
kind of
it.
a very nice conceit.
There was a couple of covers that you could see that he was in this indigenous guy, right? Which is also kind of an appeal to see what it's all about. But again, also being a dollar, they had a bunch of issues. Yeah. These are just 2 random ones that I pulled that I just liked the cover and figured I'd give it a shot. But this one, I'm loving the art in the inside of this one quite a bit.
The stuff drawn by Ernie Cole, all the Ernie Colin issues are very good. He's the same artist who did Amethyst, and I'm trying to think of what else he did.
Oh yeah.
But he's a really good artist.
And then
who's kind
one,
of under
Roy and Dan Thomas, Ron Randall, and Rick Magyar.
Right.
This one didn't jump out to me as much when just a
Ron
flip
Randall
through,
was just at the beginning of his career there, and he may have
Okay.
developed better as an artist later.
Yeah. It doesn't look bad by any stretch, but it didn't jump out to me as much as the other issue.
I mean, if you're looking at in a bargain bin full of Air-X, look for the ones by Ernie Cullen first, I would say. But
Okay.
I think it's all fun.
Yeah.
But again, my memories, I worry, that
Yeah.
my memory might be false or something. But I love
Sure,
it.
but I mean, with
when it
all
was
of these
coming out.
things, I'm going in with a certain sense of it, right? I'm not expecting,
You're not spending
the
any
greatest
serious
thing
money.
I've ever read in my life, and I haven't spent very much. So, a buck a piece, I'm willing to give it a chance. So,
I want to say, but I'm not sure. But I think Ernie Cullen was someone who, although never became a fan favorite, was very looked up to by other artists. I seem to see references to him in that sense. But I really liked his work on Amethyst and on Arak.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I have
I'm looking forward to it.
I have a Marvel graphic novel by him, but that I haven't cracked open yet. I should look at that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So Terrence is into his barbarian still, huh? The kick is strong still. He's looking for some more.
May as
Men
well.
without shirts, they're just very alluring.
Men without, that's right. I'm just drawn. I'm somehow drawn to them.
And I thought Red Sonja would be
over-masculinity.
Red Sonja would be more your forte, but I guess not.
Red Sonja is phenomenal. It's just I don't find those aren't out there as much. And when I do see some Red Sonja, honestly, they're more than a buck, so they're not as easy to find out there.
She's not as cheap as your barbarians are. Yes,
right.
That's right. Yeah, my barbarians. I like my barbarians cheap, naked and cheap.
Of course, you're gonna put that. So I'll brief talk about. I haven't finished this yet, but I started reading it. That's another thing I picked up. We only find them when they are dead. So Al Ewing, the famous Hulk writer, and now he's doing something else. I actually was looking for the what is it called, Once in Future, because I really would like to read that kind of tale, but they had this, unfortunately, because they had Once in Future in my library, but there's volume 2, so I didn't want to start. This is volume 1, thankfully. So it's a tale apparently of people in ships who likes to harvest a god's meat. So that's why they called we only find them when they're dead. So it seems to be gods, when they appeared to humans, or to humans that era, they appear dead in space. And you see those little ships here trying to fight for every single bit of meat of the gods. Because they fork up quite a good money or survival. That's part of his survival. And then it has this beautiful, actually very beautiful looking gods who's dead, and she looks like she's like sleeping, to be honest, rather than being dead in his panels. I find this so far, where I've scrolled through, very dark for trade. Mm-hmm. It feels like this would look absolutely stunning in digital because of the coloring choices. Right. But I know they are in space and generally, but even when they are talking in the plane or the ships, like this panel here, you barely can make up the lady's kind of face in generally because of the coloring choices and that like block of flashing light screen. And that's the page I was looking putting it as a thumbnail because I just enjoyed like this tiny little ship trying to carve into, because basically there's so many ships in survival in this book apparently, and they see a god, they basically go for harvested meats and then they fetch a lot of money. But there's this certain way of dealing with that kind of like autopsy in space, is that everybody has to be taking the area of the god where they're going to harvest, and it's like basically been like managed by other people, which I hadn't found out yet about. And this is mainly story of so far you get introduced to our main character, Captain Malik, and his crew of 4, and it's very like it always says that, and I'm not sure why they do that. I mean, I know there's going to be fights for somebody's trying to fight for more because there's some like heart of the god. It's fetches humongous amount of money, but you're not allowed to. It's forbidden. It's like but there's also the rogue pilots who tries to attempt to do that, and they get killed. But we're so far following this Captain Malik, who is basically inherited this ship. So it's been happening, and the era they are in is 2020 what 23, I think, something like that. So year 2367. And that's the futuristic tale of that. And I didn't really get into much, but I enjoyed the stuff. But I just really like, wow, it's so dark in the panels. So it's the first thing is like I kind of like got distracted, and very I like the color schemes and everything, and our style looks fantastic. But I'm wondering if the story would feel more kind of like grandeur in grand, like because of the way I see it. The art is kind of distracting for me. I feel like I need the light more to just do, or daylight, like really bright day, to actually enjoy this book to read it. And I read only a couple, like this is chapter 2, and I read a little bit of it, so I just skimmed through. But when I guess I read it next week, I'll be more giving you opinion. But so far the story kind of goes quick in a way. I mean, I found out about the characters, the premise of the story so far, but there's Malik is trying something different. That's where it ended up. So I guess they will be in trouble, and we will follow them through that. Nothing groundbreaking, to be honest. I was thinking, like, a bit intrigued with that. And the first thing when I saw lying God, I actually kind of felt like maybe they are actually humans lying in there, and then those minuscule ships, which are actually basically like a bacteria coming to harvest us after that. So that's
interesting.
Like, this is what felt like what he's trying to maybe underline, and you not really realizing and telling you this is in space. That's why you only see them when you're dead, because honestly those humans or whatever creatures who's trying to harvest a god is actually basically just like a bacteria or speck or something. It just gave me the feeling when I was reading that. So just maybe I'm putting something more when it actually is, but it just gave me that feeling at the end of it. But yeah, Boom Studios is producing quite nice trades, to be honest. The paper is really nice, but it's just I'm having problems with that coloring.
Yeah,
it's just so dark.
I get very upset about coloring. So I read the first 2 issues, and it's like, I am working so hard just to find the character in the panel through this color that I'm not going to pay good money for that.
Yeah,
but getting it out of the library might be the way to go, just to get the story.
So you know that story of the oh my god, I'm not that the giant goes into shore, and this little people comes in to save him, and what is it, that cartoon called?
Gulliver, you mean?
Yes, Gulliver. So I think it's kind of like his tale of Gulliver story, in a way, in space maybe, or something like that. That's just, I have a feeling of the things. And also, I guess I haven't read yet, but my next reading will be this in digital.
Right.
It's called Castaways. It's by Laura Perez and Pablo Monforte. It's a very interesting style, but it's more about the human, basically, psyche and life through, and it starts in Madrid in 1981.
Right.
And it looks quite interesting. The color palettes are every single era. Like for her, it's this color palette. There's a male in here as well, which has like a blue sheen color to it. I haven't fully finished this one, so I don't want to really talk to you about it, because I don't think I have yet to understand the purpose of a story yet, because it's very nonchalant, to be honest. It's just like really the person goes through life and the emotions and stuff like that, and then people meet together, and some guy who has met her in the past is reminiscing about her and basically sulking while he has other relationship with other females. So interesting. So anyway, but this is going to be, it just came out actually, I think in February. and you can buy. I was looking at in library, they having in pre-order, but you can get a digital version of it, which I was surprised by. So yeah, this is my next reading thing as well. Something different. Like I was reading so many superheroes, and like, oh, I need something different, but I ran out of time basically to finish reading this. Yeah.
On that,
Damon?
we only can find them when they're dead thing. I feel like that idea has been done in other ways before. Like there was a Mark Millar run of the Fantastic Four where they had the dead body of Galactus that they were harvesting to make some kind of spaceship out of. And then I think in the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't there something inside a god's body that's like a space station?
Yeah. It's a skull where the actual station is.
A skull of an old ancient.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. I mean, there are probably other versions of that idea even before Mark Millar did it in the Fantastic Four.
It's still ongoing, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's still ongoing, slowly coming out.
Yeah, I was surprised that I didn't find it in their library, but
I might look for it on Hoopla someday. Because digital seems to be the way to interpret.
It's really. Honestly, I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely extremely dark and blurry at sometimes because there's action. It's really difficult to make up, and it's kind of sad because it looks like it's an intriguing way of dealing with panels, like a bit more digital. But that's the thing, that when you deal with digital and you don't have portrayal of great color in it, it's just you lose it. Especially if you pick up on something space and darkness and voids and all that stuff. So
I had wondered if maybe when the artist saw the print version, he or she might have only been going by their computer screen, and then when they saw the print version, maybe they would change their coloring approach. But I don't think that happened.
Yeah. Anyway, Damon, you still have something else? Because
I thought I'll just do some quick takes and then I'll be out of stuff because I haven't got as much reading done this week as I normally do, and the stuff I did read, for the most part, either I don't know, it's not worth talking about too much, or it wasn't that great. But if you want to put my little other screen up again, I read some Enemy Ace, and I was really looking forward to this, and I can see why I liked it as a kid, because it's like first person from the point of view of this, honorable but kind of merciless German super pilot in World War I. But it's just so much. Just you're watching airplanes. You have a close up of his face. You're watching airplanes. You have a close up of his face. You're watching airplanes. Every page, he draws some airplanes. He does some close ups of his face. It's just kind of, it surprised me.
Just a dog
maybe
fight.
for Joe Kubert, this was a faster way to draw it by just throwing in close-ups of faces and then drawing the airplanes. So yeah, it's just endless dog fighting. So I mean, I maybe kind of like the heavy metal. I just enjoyed it for the art more than the story. I just remember thinking that Enemy Ace was so cool when I was a kid. So there may be better examples of Enemy Ace than this issue. And then I'm usually very happy when I read a DC mystery magazine from the 70s. Part of it is I never know what cool artists are going to be on the inside, and the art was pretty cool here, but the stories were just extra lame. Oh,
look at that. Love that. I remember you showing
Flee
this.
to Your Grave. That title doesn't have anything to do with the story. But this mad scientist gets turned into this monster when they're experimenting with helium. Because his assistant betrayed him and shot him through with too much helium.
Wow.
Because the mad scientist, the assistant wants to steal the scientist's ideas. So the scientist is trying to get him killed by the police. And the helium starts making him float in the air. And he's struggling with ways to not float away into space. So there he's holding boulders over his head. And then he gets himself, there's a Christmas parade.
No.
So he gets himself tied up as if he's a balloon trying to fool. But the police shoot through the Superman balloon and hit him. But the releasing helium from the Superman balloon heals him, and he shrinks back into his regular self, and he falls on top of his assistant and kills him, and that solves the story. And that was the best story in this issue.
Yeah.
But the art by Ernie Cullen was great, and this art by Rubini is incredible.
My favorite.
Yes.
My favorite.
And I guess his real name was like Ruben Yanok. So sometimes he signed Rubini, sometimes Yanok. But this is just beautiful line work. But it's just the story of some guy who told his dying wife that he would bury her with her jewelry. But then he gives his jewelry to his mistress and to marry her. And the ghost of the wife comes back and kills them both.
Yeah.
And that's it.
His art is always a standout in those issues.
It's incredible art.
So great.
It's just so sad that no effort was put into the writing. And there was another one. This one does not credit an artist, but the art's quite good. But again, it's a guy who borrows money from a mobster, and then can't pay him back and is trying to escape the mobster. And it turns out his girlfriend or wife is the lover of the mobster, and she helps the mobster chase him down. And then he actually has the money. So I can't remember why. And his wife or girlfriend helps the mobster torture him so that they can get the money. And then when they find the money, it has a booby trap bomb in it, and it explodes, and they all die. End of story.
That's a really good story, though. I like it.
Super great art again. That's really nice too.
Yeah, it is great art. I wonder, it's probably a Filipino artist, but it's just not credited.
Yeah.
It even looks a bit like Tony DeZuniga to me, but I'm not sure. I can probably look that up somewhere.
Very good.
Yeah, so those two, I had high hopes. I think I'm going to talk about them more in a video, but I thought New Masters was really good. This African-based science fiction story, kind of an apocalypse because of alien invasion. Anyway, that was really cool. Dark Knights of Steel was really cool. I'm just working on catching up on my new comics reading. Echo Lands, when this cover is kind of a mess to me. And when I started reading this issue, I thought, well, maybe not every page should be such fancy stuff, because this was really just a sequence where they're trying to decide whether to kill this guy or let them join them on their quest. But then the story kind of expanded outwards as they go into this rocket ship, and they're headed towards some place called Horror Hill. And then it got really fun visually, and it made a lot. I can't even show the whole thing. I'm sorry, but so it was really cool visually as it got going.
So good, yeah.
But it is a problem when you need like a slow moment in your comic, but you're addicted to everything looking explosive.
Yeah.
What do you do? But anyway, and then there's this great battle with zombies who actually do say brains. But that is beautiful stuff there, if you like zombies. So I continue.
I didn't read it. I just flipped through every page and loved it.
Yeah, I continue to enjoy this, and I do think it is a decent story. I'm just not sure how good of a story it is, and it feels like it's still to be decided exactly what I think of it as a story.
What is the premise? Red Riding Hood?
The premise is this Red Riding Hood type character has stolen a special magical stone from an evil wizard who rules this world that seems to contain all stories within the same world. And that's why there's this Jack Kirby looking character.
That's what I was thinking. Why
there's characters that look like they're out of black and white vampire movies and all sorts of things. So so right now it's kind of a chase thing, right? They're running away from the wizard and they're encountering one thing after another. So if they can pull it together into something more meaningful than that, then it will be a really great fantasy story. If not, it'll just be a book with great art and a fun story, I suppose.
So how many issues is he going for, this Ecolens?
They don't say, but this is the end of the first arc.
Oh,
so there is a oversized hardcover coming out in June.
Oh,
so
that's
I'm
right,
guessing,
yeah.
I'm guessing they're going to take a break
Uh-huh.
and come back after the hardcover. So maybe in June or July.
The Hayden
It's got
Blackman
to take a
is,
long
Hardcover
time
is
to
gonna
draw
look
this
like.
stuff.
Yeah.
is Hayden Blackman, is his colorist, or is he actually helping him
His
with
co-writer.
the co-writer?
Dave
Yeah, because
Stewart is his colorist, and Todd Klein is the letters.
Because I think they did Batwoman together, isn't it? Hayden Blackman.
Yes.
And Jay Twillen.
Yes, they co-wrote Batwoman together.
Yeah.
So they're kind of writing partners.
That's why I was like, familiar name, so I just wanted to blab that out. Okay,
Another
cool.
one worth pointing out, because it doesn't come out very often, is The Goon. So I luckily managed to get a hold of a copy, and this was a really fun and silly issue of The Goon.
Which is, most of them are all the time.
So
anyway.
if you like the fun, silly Goon, then this is another another slab of Goon. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But, it definitely is kind of a one and done. I don't know if it connects up in any way to other Goon stories. It's interesting the way it's colored. There's just hints of touches, gray sort of turning into green here and there. The yellow in the word balloons, for instance, or a little bit of yellow there, a little bit of reddishness coming in.
Yeah.
I think he's gone through different colorists. I don't know if he's coloring it himself now. He must be. There's no colorist listed.
No, he does most of the stuff as well.
Yeah, but I think at one point Stewart was coloring him, and at another point someone else. So
I think when he was still doing Dark Horse
might have. Yeah.
It's when the Stewart was still very moved with everything else. Is it Dave Stewart now?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is Dave Stewart completely now just DC colorists, or this is still working for some?
No, I see him at Image. I see him.
Okay.
So I think he's expanded beyond Dark Horse, maybe because of changing creators at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting. Manor Black has come back after like a year or two, and the first 4 issues, which they're calling an arc, to me were just the beginning of a story. And so it continues now, and it's just listed as a number 1. I think you can pick up on what's going on just coming in here. But the art is by both Brian Hurt and Tyler Crook. And Tyler Crook usually watercolors by hand, because I've seen him doing it. When he was signing at a comic book store, he was sitting there just working on a page. So this time Brian Hurt has drawn it. He's the artist from The Sixth Gun.
Yes.
And then Tyler Crook has painted over it. And the combination of the two makes for some really nice art.
Wow.
And it's about this magical family. Magical family in Louisiana. And I think, and this is like the patriarch of the family, and I think she might be his illegitimate daughter or something. I'm not sure about that. But she's come along, and the other members of the family are upset that he's paying so much attention to her. And even I love actually the black and white flashbacks to the World War II era, obviously painted over just with grayscale. So it's kind of it's an interesting book about interesting, slightly horror book, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful art.
It's funny how when it's printed with watercolor, the watercolor usually doesn't stand out, especially even bright yellows and stuff. But because you can just enhance it a little bit more with computers, it just pops so much more.
Maybe that's what they did. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because sometimes
because watercolor is usually more faded looking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why they use gouache. Maybe they used gouache, because gouache is another water-based color, but this has acrylic tendencies because it dries out and you can't manipulate. No, wait, gouache you can manipulate, sorry. But there's acrylic gouache, which it stands out a bit more.
Crook has his own channel where you can see him painting things. I should go there and maybe he says what he's using.
Yeah.
On YouTube,
Yeah, it doesn't do it as often, unfortunately, though.
Right.
The videos.
I should look and see if this art is for sale. Actually, a page of this would be nice.
Looks like Brian Hurt's art is very different in here than what Six Gun has been.
Right. Well, I wonder if he knew that Tyler Crook was going to be painting it, if he drew a different way,
Maybe.
in part, or maybe his style has changed.
Well,
I love
slightly,
that.
I mean,
See that ghost there? I wonder. You know, now that you say it, I wonder if there was some digital touch up after the painting.
Yeah,
it can
really
be.
good.
It actually really does help, to be honest, to pop the color out of the page, because if you like, watercolor generally tends to be matte after you finish. So you subdued colors, like all those manga colorists from Japan uses watercolor. So yeah.
Oh, they almost did a Goon movie, apparently.
Oh yeah.
And Dave Peterson, the Mouse Guard guy, who's doing those covers on
Usagi,
has a channel, I guess, but that's on Twitch. I can't handle too many different platforms. I've tried Twitch a few times, but it just seems too complicated for me. So anyway, if you're a fan of that kind of art, you might want to look for Manor Black.
Looks great. Yeah.
People has to go back and just read the Six Gun. She's such a beautiful story. Oh,
I never finished reading that. I have all the oversized hardbacks.
Oh, dude!
I was waiting for them all to come out, and now I feel like I have to go back to the beginning again. But
it breezes through, especially if you have in such a format. You'll be going through them like no time.
And it's printed on matte paper and everything. Really nice.
Yeah, very good.
So that's what I've got for you.
Oh, so you have dabbled in a lot of things.
And yet I think, I think I've been working on these for about 10 days. I haven't been getting to all the new comics. I have a goal of every week doing my countdown video, but so far I haven't done it from the previous week yet.
Yeah. Twitch seems to be popular for artists as well now, because there's maybe more audience.
I watched a lot of live streams on Twitch over the early days of the pandemic. It was great. A lot of artists and musicians were doing live shows and stuff, or like pre-recorded pieces into a live show. It was great for that stuff, but I'm with Damien. It's confusing. There's too many platforms. I get confused.
Yeah, I guess I know how to find things on YouTube.
Yeah, same.
I'm
exactly
lazy,
right.
and I don't want to learn all over again how to do it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a Twitch person as well. I only tend to go if somebody on YouTube mentions, "Oh, I'm going to be on Twitch," and if I'm right there, I might check it out and see what what's up to. But not very much.
I was looking over at Whatnot, the Whatnot app, which is a video auctioning app. Just because I'm hanging out with Bueller every week, and he's going to be sponsored by them, so I was curious. I could hardly figure anything out on it. It seemed very opaque to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The irony is, 3 years ago, I was working for a high-tech company, and now just 3 years of retirement, and I'm already just an old fogey who can't figure things out.
Maybe because you're not in that rhythm. That's why your head is not tending to go in that same
At my company,
direction.
I was the guy who knew how to use the software best. Like I was, the engineers would make it, but then I would be using it all day long. And so whenever there were problems, I was the one who could tell you what to do. And now I think partially because I'll look at Whatnot software and say, they really haven't added these features yet. I don't want to be bothered until they improve it.
Scott.
Damn you!
That's hilarious.
You always manage to put a couple of lines there. To make us laugh. Okay then, Miss People, thank you very much for turning up to this floating chat of ours. Who's gonna float to this time?
I think next week it's me.
Uh-huh.
I'll be floating in the cloud saying, "What is this cloud? I don't understand."
So yeah, we will see you up there, and thank you very much for checking us out today. A bit of like random. Maybe Terrence will do better job this time for reading a bit more.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot to read. Like I'm sitting here, I've got to put some of
Get
these
to work.
books away. So
What are we
got a
paying
lot
you
of
for? Come on.
lot to read.
Well,
This
you
is
think you're
another
beautiful.
one that I picked up today. I got to read this too. So
You think your beautiful looks just there to
surrounded
point
by
us to
amazing
show?
stuff to read. I've got to do it.
He thinks he can just
What?
show
Sorry,
us the
say that
men
again.
without shirts, and that's enough.
No, I said your beautiful looks is not
Exactly,
paying
yeah.
for everything. Okay.
Uh-oh.
It's a bit early for you guys to do that kind of thing. For me, I am on time, but for you, it's a bit early. Anyway, okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and we say bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Later.